3, 2,
Look, I don't want to.
Welcome back to the Dust Off the Mic podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Tell me more about your bad life decisions. Come on, we got it.
It's they's such a bougie bitch. I really don't care.
The gulf between where you want to be and where you are
I wouldn't let her touch me.
is a lot smaller than you think.
You're just not ready for something. That's what that was.
We'll talk later.
I see the process and the journey I'm supposed to be, but perplexed, cause I don't really see nobody close to me. Hopefully this ain't wasted.
Oh my God.
You gotta
So I
take
was
the
like,
time
all right,
to
cool.
season it to marinate. You need the patience and the pressure to detonate. I'm trying to blow it.
Gloves are off.
Need to get it straight. Gifted with a vision and precision. I'm just trying to make it high key. Might be breaking free like I was Zion in some Nikes. Tucked at the crib, bro. You know just where to find me. Making beats and spitting crack verses pretty likely. Yeah. Socks with the
3D chess.
3D
Go.
chess.
I'm sorry. I really wanted to keep that point because the
Yeah,
correlation between
between
Clash
3D and
Royale
4D.
and then you went to 3D and 4D chess.
Yeah.
Please keep that thought going.
All right. So 3D chess is kind of like a joke. Like it's a real thing. You can buy a 3D chess set. I don't know how it works.
And that's what it's got, like the poles and the tiers of shit. Like
Yeah.
So is that just like a chessboard, like elevated on different planes? Like what is that? Like explain. Do you know how to play 3D chess first?
I've
of all?
never bothered to learn it from what
Me
I
either.
From what I gather.
And I'm good at regular chess.
Oh, I know you are. You
Like
could probably
regular
pick it up.
chess.
I don't think if you really just wanted to like flex and demonstrate like for no reason, because you wouldn't have many people to play with. You'd have to explain to half the people you play with how to play it. So it's one of those things.
I think regular chess is a flex
Yeah.
enough for a guy like me. Like on the surface, I don't
Yeah.
look like a guy who's gonna smack you in chess.
Okay, so the guitar is also a fine hobby where it's plenty complicated. You know, you can spend your entire life just learning how to play a guitar conventionally, and then there's people that play like two guitars.
Yeah, the fucking duel, like what was it? Jack Black with the, or no, it was Kyle Gass with the. You ever watched Pick a Destiny where he had the two
full.
legs?
I've seen
He
the
had the
clip,
two
yeah.
ladies' legs. That was
Well,
good.
so that's a joke referencing Michelangelo Badio.
Okay,
He was a guitar. He was like a glam, like he has like a mullet,
okay,
and he
got to be more specific.
It's a really famous, like if you're a guitar head, there's this video of him playing this guitar that looks like a fighter jet. It's
Okay.
really cool. It's like a really, really cool looking guitar. And he's just shredding on it. And at one point, he starts like using both things, and he starts like playing the rhythm with one hand and the lead with the other. And
Okay,
it's
so he's almost like dueling himself, like a dueling banjos thing, except you're playing both
yeah,
both parts.
It's just really so 3D chess is like that.
Okay.
It's like, okay, yeah, chess is fine and complicated on its own, but then you could play 3D chess, I suppose, and add another layer of complication to it if you just wanted to.
I feel like you would have to like really like hammer in on mastering regular chess before you can move on to another dimension.
I think you'd be capable of doing it, but like I watch a lot of people on YouTube that play chess. That's like if you opened up my YouTube page, that would be one of the things is like people like you're doing with content creation. Their content is like almost purely about playing chess, and I don't see any of them talking about 3D chess.
That's fair.
But it's a thing. It's a real thing.
I feel like it's
from
just
what
a
I
thing you
understand.
learn if you want to impress people.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's something that people who are deep into it, or yeah, it's just some people I find like hobbies that it amuses yourself, but kind of the point is almost to impress other people, like people that are obsessed with Rubik's Cubes.
I never got it.
It's probably because you're not attention seeking.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, not as
This is the
that's a
attention I
certain-
crave.
It's a certain kind of attention seeking. Like there's certain people that they just have a lot of hobbies that involve. Like I used to do
dude,
it.
I'm a stand-up comic. It's literally everybody look
Okay,
at me.
fair enough.
It's everybody look at me, and then like if I want to move on, I'm just louder than you, so the point will move on. It's the attention.
You
I
have a
crave.
lot of talents, but I feel like they're not. I don't know. You're not constantly juggling in front of me. You're not constantly shuffling
No.
cards.
No, it's not everything's a stand-up routine.
Yeah, there's
you
like
know.
demonstrations of skill.
Right.
Everybody likes feeling good at something. You know?
I have good self-esteem because I feel like I've done esteemable things. We've talked a lot about
Yes.
that
the hierarchy.
in way past discussions and probably current ones as well.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We come back to that all the time, don't we?
Why do we keep coming back to that? Explain what that is real quick, because
you could bring up a picture of it if you really wanted to.
I could.
Is there a delay on that, by the way?
Yeah, you're watching the delay on Twitch. I can bring up the...
No, that's fine. I don't care. I was just wondering.
I was just so you can see.
Because I haven't really been looking at it.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing is going to be shaped like a pyramid. Yeah, keep that handy. That's great.
Okay. And then you want me to go into that?
Yeah. Okay. And then we can talk about Twitch and... Or no, what was it? It was TikTok and...
Yeah.
AI or something?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We'll,
we got to save that question.
Yeah,
but we started talking about Clash Royale.
I'm just keeping them in order.
Yeah, keep them in the chamber. What am I typing in here, bud?
Maslow's.
There we go.
Yeah, here you go. This is baseline stuff. You need this.
You need this.
Yeah, with what we talk about all the time, I mean, this is pretty essential understanding.
It looks like a pretty woke table of needs, man.
You know what? I never associate that. With how much I'm into yoga and other stuff like color theory from like the clothes, the furniture, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Colors are just colors.
True.
But anyway.
Break this down for me.
So, psychological needs. I've seen it in different orders or different wordings or whatever. But basically, you need certain needs met in certain needs need to be met in a certain order. So, for example, like if you don't have shelter on a day like this, it is really cold.
Yeah. It is arguably cold as shit inside the studio today, in case anybody cares. That's why we're bundled.
Yeah, exactly. So
even with the heater going. But okay, so yeah, it's like 28 degrees outside in New Jersey.
So imagine you don't have shelter. Do you really think that you're going to be concerned with, I don't know, something way higher up the ladder, like
self-esteem?
Self-esteem, that's really up there. So
yeah, I imagine you feel like a pice of shit if you're like, damn, I really got nowhere to go on the coldest fucking day of the year.
Yeah, you really need to get a bunch of other things kind of in order before...
And I imagine your love and belonging's pretty shitty as well, because you're like, man, nobody wants to let me inside. I'm freezing.
It's probably pretty hard to hook up with people.
You're not even remotely thinking self-actualization.
Exactly.
Unless you want to get creative and build an igloo. You know what I mean?
Man,
start a fire, urban survival. Let's go.
So wouldn't you be higher up that ladder though if you had that kind of talent and creativity? And you'd be executing it way differently than not having shelter. So that's what I mean is this makes a lot of intrinsic sense. There's a lot of things that you and I talk about where it kind of sounds like old-fashioned stuff, but it's so necessary. Like in order to study any big idea, you have to study its roots. So like this is important. Archetypes are important, as old as that is in psychology. Like we really do have archetypes. People love hearing stories. That's why this works so well.
Yeah. I like bringing not normal, but like not high up in societal celebrity standing people into my midst. Because I feel like this is where the real interesting shit happens that makes those people. You know what I mean? If you hear like a stand-up comic talking, he's talking about normal life, normal actualization, his feelings, his thoughts, his perspective, and he's just a normal guy. You know, he's not some phenom. Like nobody, like I get it. People want to know what Taylor Swift's doing. I get it. You know, she's, I guess, a big deal. But at the same time, like all the stories that made her, you know, it's just normal people.
Yeah.
That's why I like bringing normal people. I specifically like talking to you, mainly because I know the answer I'm getting is 100% you. It's not steeped in any trying to impress. It's not steeped in any, I don't know the shorted verbiage for that, but you know, you are 100% yourself. And you know I appreciate that about you.
Everyone tells me that. It's so funny because I really don't try to be.
No shit. It's the whole no shit. But no, I like that. I've always gravitated to people who are real. Like, yeah, you're a dork. You know it.
Sure.
I'm a fucking weirdo in many ways. you know, but I am 100% myself, and I can smell a fake from a mile away. I could smell a fraud. I could smell bullshit from so far away.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I've been dicked around so many times, dude. Like, I would not have done well in Vietnam. You know what I mean? I'd have been like, fuck, Bush. You know what I mean?
You have very good intuitions.
Where quickly go? Anybody just kind of popping in? I think we got 2 or 3 people viewing, and feel free to ask any random questions once the discussions take a crazy deep turn. This is Steve and Leonchuck, everybody. Welcome back to Dust Off the Mic. I had to start it off like Joe Rowe style and get it as quickly into the conversation as possible, because that's how me and Steven talk to one another. Yeah, dude, quickly go through your accolades. Go through, like, what brought you here?
Well, here meeting you, met you through work. Mm-hmm. Where we work in sales.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for keeping it vague.
Yes.
6'10" Savage, you.
What's
up, buddy?
What's going on? So, work in sales now wasn't always that way. Used to be a school teacher. In my head, I still am. And I kind of went into sales out of necessity. I just wanted to put a roof over my lady's head, and I just wanted to get on with my life. I got into teaching. I wanted to do something good for the world, I guess, you know? But yeah, I went into sales out of necessity, and it was just a weird click. It was just meant to be. I just turned out to be, I guess, like, measurably good at it or whatever, and it just worked, and I just stuck with it. I just realized, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Not to be not to talk too much about it, but, like, I did pray about it and everything, and it was, when it was dropped on my lap, it was like, we tell that old story of the guy praying and everybody keeps, like, giving him the out, and then he gets to heaven and God's like, well, I gave you the boat, I gave you the...
Yeah. The guy stranded on his roof during a flood.
Yeah.
Okay. God will save me, but guy with a canoe comes.
Yeah.
God will save me, and then he dies, and then God's like, I sent a guy with a canoe, a helicopter.
Yeah, canoe, the helicopter. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it felt like that. Like, I had that story in mind, and I remember, like, when I was offered my first sales job, my heart went into my stomach. When they asked me, like, what do you think about working on commission? And I was like, I don't know how to think about it. I've never done it before.
What was the first sales job?
Clothes. Suits.
Threads.
Suits. That was a great start.
Can I trade in my pet kangaroo towards a 17B? Well, we know that's Kenny.
Yeah, I knew the answer to that.
Yeah, $450 a month. Just need 10 grand down on top of the roof.
Other than that, what's your money down? What's your credit
money down? So you went into clothes.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of really sharp, mentally, physically, referenced them as thread salesmen.
It's a particular kind of thing.
I got a buddy named Ricky Hess who sat next to me for years in cars, man, and that was one of the, we call him Action Hess.
Okay.
And he's one of those. He's like, this is what you need. No. You don't want that cheap shit. Like, look. And when I've bought 2 suits in the past year, and the lady that told me I was built like a superhero got me, I was like, you bitch. I am a little built like a superhero, like a small one, like an action figure.
Well, we talk about magic a lot.
Yeah. Spelling.
It was a good introduction to magic because, yeah, the way you it's a very intimate thing when you're working with clothes. You have to touch people. Mm-hmm. You have to measure them, which nobody likes to be measured. Nobody likes to have their body objectively. Like, some people clench up.
Yeah.
Like,
real
in their body
insecurities.
language. Yeah, you have to be mindful of that. When you're like, oh, it's okay.
After being, not to get morbid with it, but after being intaked into, like, penitentiaries and rehabs, like, a tailor fitting is nothing. Yeah, go ahead, get in the inseam. I don't mind.
I never did that.
Yeah.
Everybody asked me that. Everybody, oh, did you measure a lot of inseams and stuff? Yeah, no.
Did you knuckle bump a few taints?
Never.
Nah.
Never had to.
I imagine you're like you're obviously, you know what I mean? Like,
that was my shtick, yeah. That's actually a pretty good impression.
Thank you. I only spend a ton of time with you. But okay, you got into cars. I mean, not cars. You got into threads.
No, I've somehow avoided cars.
Yeah, no, I would never not recommend it for everybody.
Somehow.
You got into clothes. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, so suits specifically, but they sold other things. And then, you know, I felt comfortably, I don't know, capable at that. You know, I hit a certain level of capability. Like, I didn't have to use the measuring tape with most things, where I could just kind of, like, like, you know, you always confirm your work and ask them to try stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, you know, we had a custom program, and, like, the numbers spoke for themselves. Like, yeah, there's a point of just walking people over to the table, but there's also, like, the results. And, like, yeah, the outcome, like, was satisfying. Like, I liked feeling good at that. And then COVID.
Yeah.
Nobody needed a suit. You know, you couldn't go to work. You couldn't have a wedding. So a lot of the people that did the suit thing got recruited into furniture in this area.
Mm.
And the furniture thing was strangely compatible with the suit thing.
In what way?
Nobody wants to talk to you. So that's step one, is the person walks in the door and I'm just looking is like word vomit. It's just a blink. Like, if somebody punched you in the face, you would blink. If you walk into a store and you're overwhelmed with information and you don't know what you're doing yet, I'm just looking is like a thing that comes out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So first you learn how to, like, just...
Oh, what are you looking for?
Well,
is there anything specific?
I think that's the training.
Yeah.
But then there's the... what you do when you learn how to color outside the lines.
We talked about it like fighting Wing Chun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yes, what exactly are you looking for? Is there a specific room you're doing?
Right. So you have to work with the person a little bit. People have different comfort levels, and you have to respond to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to take control of the situation a little bit. So once you get past all that kind of stuff, in either sales process, especially when you walk into a furniture store, you know, it's just like, I just kind of want to look around. I want to see what you guys offer. I want to see what your price points look like on the tags. I want to see what sort of collections, how the things are laid out or whatever. So somebody walking up to you in a suit and tie, wearing a shiny name badge, and at that time a mask, you know?
The most professional ninjas ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just overwhelming, and especially, like, we were almost, like, really encouraged to engage the customer in a way that, like, I think a lot of customers interpret as aggressive. So, I mean, in either circumstance, just a way of just getting past that really quickly and just trying to help people understand you're there to assist them. And then just, like, kind of being, you know, at a useful distance, but still engaging them, and slowly going from, like, not engaging to engaging more and more until we're really having a back and forth responsive conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that. The sales process was very similar. Like, it moved in a similar order. It was just bigger price tickets, so bigger paycheck.
Yeah.
Is what it ultimately turns out. So if anybody's getting into sales, I mean, that was the best advice I was ever given, to sell bigger stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bigger and more expensive.
Yeah. Sell more expensive stuff.
I used to sell Highline cars. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's tough.
For a first timer. I really wouldn't. It's just like, it's... Okay, so it's like 3 stages above baseline sales training.
Yeah.
Like, you get the standard customer service, meaning, you know, you kiss their ass kind of stuff. That's like level 1. You know what I mean? You know, the stupid jargon the customers always write bullshit that they've been, you know, chewing on about since the 20s.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And then you have to take into account, you know, all your product knowledge, and they want you to be like a surgeon on figuring out every little thing, not just the customer, but the management staff as well. The expectations. And then the funniest and most ironic part of it would be, yeah, they spend all this time explaining how luxurious it is and how nice it is. And for lack of a better word, it's a beautiful vehicle.
Yeah, you have to believe in your product.
Every new one I sold came back within 3 months for major problems. You know, not standard shit. And the price ticket on standard maintenance on most Highline vehicles, yeah, I would say, I don't know, what's the start of Highline? Mercedes, BMW?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a good starting point.
Sure.
In my experience.
Good stuff. Good products.
You're talking $200+ oil changes.
Yeah.
You're talking brake pads that are easily 2-3 times more. My father sold parts for 30-40 years.
That is...
You're talking a whole new ball game.
So that's a topic, if we're talking about the heady stuff, like if you want to go a level deeper and we don't have to, just that would be planned obsolescence.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's part of the profit structure. It's how a lot of these businesses
Now, I know what that is, and you and I have
keep
talked
their
about that.
margins and pad their profits. And
yeah, we've talked about that in great depth, but if you wouldn't mind, explain.
things are designed to fail, and when businesses are designing their overall profit structure, they rely on maintenance. So in some cases, it's things like Apple's been caught with their pants down, slowing their old products to kind of encourage you to buy new ones, or using the software to murder your battery. I love Apple products. There's no, I really do, but every company does that to some degree. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those reasons, like, me, I'm a big capitalist or whatever, but there's got to be some checks and balances and everything, because if you just leave people to their own devices, it's like getting upset for ants showing up to a picnic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Planned obsolescence. I learned that term probably about a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, but I'd always
intrinsically you probably
and that's what I was getting at. Like, I knew that things were made shitty.
Yeah.
But until I started hearing people talk about, like, no, there's like actual, like, this was the day, usually has something to do with Rockefellers or whatever the hell. And they decided light bulbs last too long or something like
light
that.
Bulbs
Yeah,
are
it was
the
light
ultimate.
bulbs.
That's the
It was light bulbs.
classic example. If you're talking about planned obsolescence, it's light bulbs. They can always make a light bulb that lasts longer.
Yeah, they had a light bulb that lasted like 10 years. Like, this is crazy. Nobody's buying more light bulbs.
Did you ever see you could probably bring it up. There's a thing online. I don't know if it's still there, but up until a while ago, there was there was a light bulb in a New York City firehouse that had been going for. It was like not iridescent. The conventional, like, filament style light bulb, right?
Okay.
It was working for like 100 years or something. Like, maybe that was debunked. Maybe that's some stupid thing that I read online and it's turned out to not be true. But for the longest time, I remember everybody pointed to that as
light bulb that lasted 100
yeah.
years. The light bulb that has been on for nearly 100 years is called the Centennial Light.
Okay.
Located in the Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department.
So it's a real thing, though?
Yeah. Looks
okay.
Like it.
Well, this is why I wanted to have a fact-checking screen, is because, like, when you're floating around talking about this stuff, sometimes, like, there's this... Now we can know it's debunked.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to be taught if I'm wrong. We grew up in the 90s. You get taught a lot of horse shit.
Another thing I appreciate about you, that you always remain teachable. And you're a really smart dude. Like, some people, like, I would think, like, if I got to your level of intelligence and education, I would probably just stop seeking knowledge, because I'm probably well set up. With my skill set now, and then the knowledge that you have, I'd be like, yeah,
no.
This is a fucking solid dude.
No.
But you always remain teachable, and you are arguably, one of the best salespeople that I'm currently in association with.
Thank you, but no.
Whatever, you fucking humble ass, but whatever. I would say that, and I would also say you've never like gone, nah, I already know.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't. Well, there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger curve, and the less capable you are in something, the more likely you are to overestimate your ability. So I try to be aware of that, and I feel like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
It's pretty deep.
You have to come back to that. And it's like one of those things that the only time you earn the title of master is on your gravestone. Like, a true master never feels like they're done learning. They're always like they feel more capable of learning as they go on. It's not something that stops.
Yeah, I try to remain teachable. There are certain things that, like, I try not to fill my brain with, like, in certain senses, like certain types of mindsets, certain like ways of going about things. Like, I try not to fill it with negativity. I was talking about my cousin. I was talking about my cousin yesterday. Me and him were just chatting, and I was like, man, you build evidence. You build your trophy case of evidence. If you want good self-esteem, you do esteemable things. We were talking about that before.
Yes.
You know, if you have the accolade, it's not even bragging, it's not arrogance or whatever. It's just like, nah, this is what I worked for.
It's self-assuredness.
Yeah. It's like
word.
I can't keep going through life questioning my abilities always. It's a heavy balance between being teachable and also knowing that you carry the knowledge and are capable of bestowing it on others.
So you have to do, and it's one of those things that you try to drill it into kids really young, and I think it's a generational thing that's getting better, is that idea that failing is okay and really good in a weird way. Like, you kind of want to start failing and stuff so you can learn from your failures. And it's such an invincible mindset, and it's so simple to the people who get it, but it's something where it's like, I remember when I was in education, that was such a fashionable thing to teach, was trying to get kids comfortable with failing. And it's weird how, it's antithetical to the whole participation trophy thing, and in a weird way, they were drilling that idea into kids' heads, like it's okay to fail and stuff. But then we had grading systems where, like, kids couldn't get a failing grade. Like, there was the way they did it in some schools, and I'm not going to mention which school. All I'm going to say is it was New Jersey public education, so I don't think it was a weird practice or anything like that. At the middle school levels, at least, I would say there was a participation grade and an achievement grade.
Really?
And they could always average them out for like on any individual thing that was being, or maybe it was collectively at the end of the period or something, the grading period or something, but they would restructure the math. And you can do, this with statistics in math, you can play around with things so much. You can
fudge the numbers a bit.
Depending on where you divide,
change variables.
Depending on where you average things out can matter a lot. So if they're constantly, like, just for sake of random example, let's say there was a quiz that I give out, okay? The kid writes their name at the top of the paper and doodles on the rest of it. They got 100% participation grade. They showed up. They put their name on the paper. They were there.
How much does the participation grade affect their overall grade, though?
So
like, if they're failing,
the thing,
if
is
they're
just
failing,
trying to funnel the kid through the system, and somebody could really come down my throat and say that I'm oversimplifying it or something like that, I'm sure.
I mean, check my math on this. If somebody's failing, that's at least a 50, right? As far as like a 1 to 100. And if they get 100% participation every time, and their standing grade for like knowledge is 50, but their participation participation is 100.
Right.
That's like an average of what, 75? That's a passing grade.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Jesus Christ, dude.
So that's the thing, is you can...
Why did I struggle with participation so much?
Well, there's all kinds of troublesome things with what do you do with the lowest common denominators of society. We talked about that before. Like, you've got to be compassionate and you've got to be empathetic to people. But there is a certain point where, like, we're investing a lot of resources and we're really holding other things back, and it's like, it's challenging. It's a really emotionally challenging thing for an intellectual person to weigh out.
Wow. That's kind of scary. It almost means that, like, for lack of a better word, most people were not ready to go into adulthood.
The scariest thing about that is that we keep raising that bar each generation to kind of slow down this process a little bit. So think about this. Like, a couple generations ago, by 18, it was totally normal and possible to own a house. A couple generations ago, couple people ago, as Joe Rogan would say, right? Totally normal for an 18-year-old to own a house. And you wouldn't think twice of it. You'd be like, okay, he's a man.
The guy's
now.
ready to start a family.
Yeah, he could have gone to war.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, in our generation, if you are a homeowner by age 30, you're doing quite well. Like, in this area, at least. I don't know how it is in the rest of the country, but, like, I know for a lot of people in our age group, having your own property by age 30 was an achievement I think for a lot of people. So we, college is part of that. I think we normalized higher education even when it's not necessary. So that pushes back the age of adulthood. You're still under the age of all these other people taking care of you, and you're not really out in the workforce yet, and you're kind of treated special by the insurance companies and by the banks. You can get like student checking programs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like we pushed out the age of accountability a lot. And then the automation. Automation is a huge part of this. Right now, we need a lot of, frankly, less useful people. We just need bodies to show up and do things, just to get it done.
Yeah.
The more capable the robots are of doing, and that's a very easily understood, it's always increasing. There's never a point where technology is doing less work. We're always replacing labor with technology. So over time, we're going to need less and less people. And if you look at like where that strikes on an IQ curve, we're going to have a gigantic part of the population that just is frankly working for the sake of working.
Yeah, just to stay busy.
Yeah.
I mean, that would insinuate that the automation is actually benefiting people other than the people who own the automation.
Well,
because if you're replacing 20 checkout clerks at a grocery store,
yeah,
if you're replacing them with 4 automated cash that's 20 people that doesn't have a job anymore.
Yeah, let's just say it's that.
Okay, so you made all that extra money.
Yeah.
You're still like just this morning I went to goddamn Walmart.
Yeah.
Got dog food, I got breakfast stuff, I got, stuff for like Christmas wrapping.
The grocery store profit margins are out of control.
Not only
I can't believe and that's a capitalist telling you that.
Not only did I get the cart, I got the stuff, I checked it out, I brought my own goddamn bag, and then the lady still had the balls to check my receipt. Like there's some weird integrity question here. Like, listen, if you wanted to find out what I actually just bought, maybe you should have brought your happy ass over and checked me out.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary. Like, your job is to literally make sure I'm not stealing when you could just be cashing me out. It used to be when I was a kid, you had a bagger. There's a fucking minimum wage fucking like 16-year-old kid that maybe needs an extra income in there. Yeah.
I did that.
I made sandwiches. I made sandwiches when I was in high school. I worked at my dad's auto parts store too.
You're telling me you can't picture, like, if there was a store right now around the corner that had a sandwich robot, would that be unbelievable to you?
If it made good sandwiches.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you saw it in an app, would you think, oh, that's ridiculous, there's no way they have a robot that could make sandwiches?
I believe it. I had a robot bring me and my daughter drinks the other day at sushi.
If they really wanted to, we could automate most jobs. Like, within a really short period. Like, if you look at a restaurant, we're using old buildings because it's cheaper and easier. If you redesign buildings where there's just a thing that carried the food around.
Yeah, like a conveyor belt, like that sushi place.
Like, you hear about places like Japan doing this stuff or California doing this stuff, but like, right now the only reason we keep doing things is because, one, it's familiar, 2, it's cheaper or easier to just use what's already there. But like, I really think on a long enough timeline, like, they have printers that print in concrete and they're printing out buildings. 40% of the world's global labor population at one point, I don't know if this is still an accurate statistic, at one point, like, globally, it was like almost a third or a half or something like that of the world was working in construction. So maybe in America we have a really weird aesthetic demand for things where we wouldn't want to have buildings that have those unsightly looking ridge lines in it from the layers of 3D printing, because they're not perfect yet.
Right.
So what will probably happen is it'll be used in relief areas or impoverished areas or something like that, and they'll perfect it. It'll be part of relief grants, and it'll get funding a lot easier in that way. And then some company will fund it in that way, and they'll do all the research, and then, in a couple decades, you'll see them printing out cheap houses probably in the United States, and they'll be up to our building standards. We'll let those people in the other countries that can't afford building standards figure out if they're safe or not, and then we'll execute it. That's kind of cruel. I'm just saying, collectively, though, that's kind of how our society works. I mean, did you see what happened with the vaccines?
No. What happened?
I mean, it's so hard to know because, again, there's so much disinformation out there, but there's a lot of things where, like, we kind of just put stuff out into the world, and like we have these really high, lofty standards of ourselves, and then we just don't impose those standards on developing places. And then we also like hold things back from them, like we won't let them develop certain stuff.
Who doesn't let them?
Big like World Bank type stuff.
Every time I hear the words World Bank,
Yeah,
I think of the Iron Bank from Game of Thrones.
I'm not familiar.
You've never watched Game of Thrones?
I consciously try to unlearn about Game of Thrones.
Really?
I can't stand it.
Really? Too many wieners for you?
Well, that's certainly a factor. No, it's just I don't know. I was dating a woman at the time when I was like in college, and she was really into it, and I really tried to give it an honest try.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just way too out there. It was way too fantasy based. I need things that have like a more concrete.
You like it? You like a little bit of a scientific backing to it. Your
Star
fiction.
Trek ruined me. It did. I tried watching that after I watched Next Gen as an adult, and it's impossible to like. If you're really, I can't get somebody who thinks like that. Like that's something I can't get.
See, I like both though. I like the science-y fiction, and I also like the fantasy fiction. That's really
amazing.
the difference of the two.
I can't switch gears easily. There's things where it has to be like nostalgic things are different.
All
like,
fantasy fiction is like, all right, so if science fiction is taking the science dial and turning it up to 11, it's taking the folklore and legend and mysticalness of everything, and then turning that to 11.
But it has such a deep story that just like.
So does Lord of the Rings.
I know there's another one I don't like.
Dude, there's
That's
whole
another
like
one.
in what do they call it in canon?
Okay, so we talked about consciously being mindful of the things you're taking in mentally, right? Some of it's negative. Some of it's nonsense, and that's something we don't talk about a lot.
No, okay.
Okay?
Give me an example.
Okay, like at one point in my life, I knew an entire fake galaxy because I was really into Star Wars. I knew where planets were located. I knew the cultures on those planets. At one point, I had a cookbook.
Jabba the Hutt's little pet's name was Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, and
That
that's all well
information
and good,
will never
dude.
leave my brain. I don't know why.
That's all well and good. We all need escapes from reality. We all need fantasy. But there's a point where, like, you have a limited hard drive in your head. You have a limited amount of gray matter, and you have a limited amount of time.
Did you see any value in learning Klingon?
I never did that.
No.
No.
Were you close?
No. But because I started being mindful of how many hours were in the day, and I started realizing, like, no, I can't use this information for anything other than more nonsense.
Right.
You know, so I started replacing that with, like, studying stuff and doing things.
And leaving home.
Yeah, and, like, having a life. And, like, no,
Meeting girls.
I think it's important to have a little bit, but, like, you know, when I talk to people and their entire personality is just which animes they're into and their favorite Marvel movies and their favorite video games, and they just don't do anything, it's kind of like regrettable. You know, it's like you almost feel sorry for the person. Like, wow, really? That's
all you do?
And not to be too like I'm not trying to be too judgy.
No, you're right. I mean, you want to get out. You got to touch grass, as the game is called.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
Okay, where does that bring you to on that? It's an escape from Maslow's thing. It's like a little sideways thing to get out of it for a little bit. It's not anything that leads to higher stuff.
I think it more or less flips the pyramid upside down. It puts socializing above other things. Like, arguably, if you spend too much time gaming, or if you spend too much time diving into anime and staying inside and just watching stuff and never getting the vitamin D from the sun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It flips it. It turns it into, okay, now that I've gotten all this self-assurance, now I'll try and survive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now I'll eat a Hot Pocket maybe.
Well, and you also said, like, let people know who I am or where I'm coming from and
Sure.
stuff. I am in chronic pain. I'm somebody who has medical conditions, and I try not to manifest that by talking about it, because I think if you talk about things, it makes it more true. Mm-hmm. But you also have to face reality.
Yeah, but it doesn't help to dwell. I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, realistically, I have to recoup. I have to recover.
Mm-hmm.
So I have downtime where I need a couple hobbies that are frankly nonsense. Like if you're not feeling well and you're resting, you can't just sit there freaking out about politics and the universe and stuff. Like you need some Yu-Gi-Oh, you need some Grand Theft Auto.
If all those other needs are taken care of first. Like I got to make sure my bills are paid before I start buying Pokemon cards.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm not buying any Pokemon cards, but like let's say I want to, buy another camera for the studio or something like that. I got to make sure groceries are bought, Christmas presents are in lock.
Exactly.
Wife happy, kids happy, comfortable, safe, loved, all that. And then yeah, sure, I'll splurge a little on myself because that's if I'm not, you're right. We were talking about balance before. It is all about balance. And it's hard to achieve nowadays.
Yeah.
Would you say this is the hardest time in human history to achieve any type of balance in life?
I think that's a weird judgment for anybody to make because we do have, I think, measurably more complex lives because we're more interconnected than ever.
Arguably more isolated, though.
In a sense, yeah, it's a weird
We're about
inverse.
as isolated as we were in the early 1900s from one another. Only because geographically, in the 1900s, late 1800s, people just weren't as close together. They had to go into town on a horse and buggy. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted to see your neighbors, you had to walk a couple miles and then go onto their property. Now, there's that much contact with people, only we can drive. We can FaceTime. There's the illusion of camaraderie. That's why I like getting people in the hot seat because you're here. Like, yeah, there's a lot of technology involved, but we're two friends having a conversation in person like normal human beings.
Yes.
Something that I feel like is very much lacking. And a life of sales has kind of made me really appreciate that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Somebody was telling me back when I sold cars, oh, dude, eventually all salesmen are going to be replaced by vending machines. Yeah,
Nope.
tell me how Carvana worked out. The moment somebody has a problem and they got to talk to a fucking machine, they lose their minds. They want somebody to blame, and a salesman is just that. They want an establishment. They want a heartbeat because in all reality, you can't make a fucking robot feel like an asshole.
So I was saying the thing about the automation.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is theoretically replaceable, but then there's like what does the execution look like? And I think that in a lot of things, there's still that human element that we want. They always talk about that in robot movies. Whenever there's like a futuristic movie,
yeah, like why do they make their faces so human-like?
Yeah, but even so, there's like things where like there's that new movie that just came out with Megan Fox, I think.
I think my wife was watching that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was actually pretty good.
I'll have to
it wasn't
check it
bad.
out. What was it called?
I didn't care enough.
That's fair.
Yeah, I try to.
But it
keep
was a
up,
good movie.
Well, that's in my catalog of interests, like AI and robotics and stuff like that. So like whenever there's a movie that's like the one Megan, I think it was called.
That was
the
decent.
It was good. It wasn't a bad movie. It was fun. It wasn't supposed to it was supposed to touch on some really deep ideas in a fun way. It's a great way to broach those topics because we've all got to start thinking about this stuff, you know. So Megan was kind of fun. This other one wasn't bad. But what were we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh well.
We were in the AI and then we were in the automation again.
There was also
You were right. You were right. It does this.
Yeah, it keeps
our conversations.
It bounces back and forth, but it's gonna. I'm trying not to.
Whatever.
Know. So, well, okay. So, what were we going to talk about at the beginning with the difference between?
Oh, so as a guy who, like I've asked you several times to download TikTok because I feel like
no.
I feel like first of all the information stream I feel like you would find fascinating, like what the algorithm deems necessary.
I still
to
get
put
the good ones. Good TikToks make their way over to other things.
Fair enough. But as a guy who doesn't trust TikTok as far as he can throw it...
TikTok moves fast, I will say that.
You seem to entrust AI pretty well.
No.
You don't entrust it? You're more fascinated by it and
no.
willing to be vulnerable with it?
No, it's coming. It's inevitable. It's just like automation. It's happening. It's a trend. It's not like a thing you can fight. So it's more like how do I learn how to coexist with this? How do I learn how to benefit from it since it's coming?
How have you benefited from it so far?
AI is an amazing tool.
Go on.
I mean, admittedly, it's gotten to a point of being very useful for basic problem solving. I mean, I've used it to solve all sorts of weird little problems. It's one of those. It's like asking me to pick my favorite food.
Okay.
You know, it's just like, oh man, there's so many good ones. What do I say?
How often are you asking AI problem-solving
A
questions?
couple times a week.
Really?
Yeah, I try to. Even sometimes if I'm stuck on something, I'll go to AI just to see if I can bounce the problem off of it.
Almost as if it's another person to talk shit over with.
I still try to verify it against other things, but it's using the internet that I'm using, so it's kind of like hard to get away from it.
Right.
And I try to verbally not lead it towards my own conclusions. I try to give it the most blanket facts I can, and sometimes it'll come to the same things as me, which is like weird.
Could you give me an example?
You said you wanted to do something with conspiracies. I think I might have a little live thing I can do.
You have a live conspiracy as far as AI goes?
No, I think I could use AI to demonstrate like where I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I have extremely legit questions and I can show what I mean. Like I can show my work. But I wanted to answer the thing about TikTok versus AI. So AI is a tool. It's coming. Mm-hmm. It's going to be implemented in tons of different ways. A tool's like a pencil. You can write a beautiful poem that could inspire humanity with it, or you could stab somebody in the eye with it. Sure. You know, AI is going to be like that. It's going to be capable. I've already used it to do awesome things. It's going to be used to do some terrible things too. And unfortunately, it's also learning how to self-preservate, which is concerning.
Meaning?
I didn't read the full article, and
Meaning like defend itself for its own survival?
Yeah, I'm not a computer scientist, but from what I understand, there's like a recent incident where they tried to shut an AI down, and it started copying itself into another thing to try and escape getting turned off.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like you see me all day keeping up on the news. Mm-hmm. UFOs, alien type stuff, AI. That's another one that I'm always keeping my eye on. Just trying to see where it's at, what it can do, what I can use it for. Maybe
you're trying to stay ahead of it.
Not ahead of it. Just how do I, like I said, how do I coexist with it, and how do I use it to benefit myself?
Okay.
That's game theory. I mean, you're always looking for competitive advantage with everything. So if this is going to be here and it's going to be a really big affecting force in our lives, I want to know how to at least interact with it in a way that's productive and beneficial to myself.
Okay.
So I think that's
and
going
you think,
well.
Okay. And then TikTok's just more of that mindless.
It's going to China.
Mindless shit.
It's going to China. And it's mostly mindless stuff that I can get from other places. So if I can get the same content from other places, why? Frankly, we are in a surveillance state. We are. This is going to be scrubbed by their surveillance state. Every single text message you send is scrubbed by the surveillance state. Everything.
They're already banning TikTok.
Everybody has a thing where they pull their phone out, and it's not even going off of their messages. It's almost going off of their thoughts at this point. Everybody reports that experience, you know, and at this point, we're just kind of like laughing about it because we can't do shit about it. Like, what are you going to do? Stop using your phone?
What was it? I was watching South Park. I've been watching South Park a lot lately.
Yeah.
I started at the beginning, and right now it's kind of cool because South Park is one of those cartoons that's always been around in my life.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a kid, I had to, like, sneak behind the couch while my brother and my father were watching it and, like, slowly, like, stealthily look into the glass of a picture frame.
It was rough. The early episodes were rough.
They were, but like I've still been like a part of that. And now I'm at, I think it's like 2015, 2016. It's right around when they start making Mr. Garrison into the Trump figure. It's right around there.
Around 2015, 2016.
And they're talking about internet pop-ups and they're talking about like you know, the intuitiveness of it all. And there's just moments where they're like trying to save somebody. And it's like, oh, a pop-up block. Like, click off that. Oh, dude, that movie's going to be awesome. And then, like, it just gets them. And then 2 minutes later, they're in a Skechers type place. Or they're in a Foot Locker eating chicken nuggets or something like that, laughing about something having nothing to do with the emergency. Yeah. That's kind of like what I feel like is happening right now.
Well, so with all that in mind, there's all these unstoppable forces where, you know, we talk about serenity. And there's all sorts of things you can get upset about as you learn about them.
Sure.
But if you can't change them, it's more about learning how to be at peace with them. So you know you're being watched. You know that even if it's not nefarious, you know you're being watched. You know that they're collecting data to sell you more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, I'm going to err on the strategic side of wanting my companies to be at least American-owned and controlled. And if it's going to be used for, I hate to say it, if it's going to be used for nefarious purposes, I want it to be for my team. I don't want it to be for China.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, well, here's the thing. A lot of things, you know, I'm not a blatant far-right crazy guy. You know, I don't own a MAGA hat or anything like that.
Right.
But I really do feel like for this area of the country and in our age group, I'm like fairly like conservative on stuff like that, where it's like
On the political compass, you said.
well, you know, people laugh at neocon. That's almost like used as like an insult.
I hear it a lot, but I've never really taken the time to know what it means.
You could look up the definition to be precise if you wanted, but
I hate labels.
well,
You know I hate labels.
they're useful though. We talked about how you can't understand anything outside of the context of the language that we use to framework it in our heads. The Sapir Whorf hypothesis.
Yeah.
So like you need labels, and the neocon thing is convenient because it does identify a certain constellation of beliefs.
Fair enough.
You know, sometimes seeing war is necessary. Things like that. That's like one of those things where it's like uncomfortable, but you know the neocons have a certain. I'm not saying I'm a neocon,
Right.
but I'm just saying it's like there's certain things that I think the Dunning-Kruger curve, when you first start learning about all this stuff, there's things that seem really basic and laughable, and then you get a little bit older and you're like, those guys might have had a point. Like, I get why they were a thing. Even if I still disagree with them, I get why they were a thing.
Sure. You start having perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective's a big thing.
All right, so does that basically answer the AI versus China thing?
Sure.
Or AI?
It was more like I just found it funny that you will utilize AI, but you won't even use TikTok. That's
No.
the only thing I just
Because
thought
it
was
goes to
funny.
China.
I get it. You said you had an experiment with AI? That would kind of freak me out.
Well, you also wanted to talk about conspiracies.
Yeah, let's talk about conspiracy.
Let's do it. Let's
What's
go to
your
Gemini.
What you said? Go to Gemini.
Yeah, so what are my 3
Yeah.
conspiracies?
What are your top 3 favorite conspiracies to kind of?
Feel free and I don't know how many people are watching or participating or whatever.
One or
If anybody
two.
has a conspiracy, I'm versed on a lot of them. I try not to go over the deep end, but I really think it's important to like at least know what people think about different stuff.
Okay.
So my top 3, I'm very invested in the UFO thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's even considered much of a conspiracy, you know, considering what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I've read a few books on the top, or I read a book, and I'm reading a second book on the topic, and it's from really credible sources. You know, I watch a lot of the people that are saying these things, and there's something. I'm not saying it's definitely aliens. There's all these different there's different schools of thought on it. There's the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis. There's
Crypto-terrestrial?
That's the belief that the things we're seeing in the sky that we don't understand are actually something from Earth. It could be humans from the future. It could be things that dwell on the inside of, like, the interior of the Earth's mantle or something like that.
Like inner core theory.
That's the crypto-terrestrial. There's the interdimensional hypothesis. I think that's very worth... That has a lot of merit to it. There's the... there's the interdimensional, there's the interstellar, there's like you know, the extraterrestrial, I guess, or whatever, the idea that it's like from another planet.
Mm-hmm.
There's different schools of thought on that, and I think nobody really knows. I have certain ways I lean on it, so we could get into the UFO thing if you want.
Yeah, I'm down.
9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much you want to talk about it.
I don't
but
know how much we're allowed to talk about on Twitch. To be honest with you,
I'll tell you what. That's one where I'm so know my stuff on it that I don't pretend. Like, I'm not saying I can blame a certain person for it. Like, I can't tell you like, well, so and so did it, and here's how. But if anybody just wants to start like tugging the thread and they think that's a ridiculous belief to have that there's something there, I can at least say like, well, there's smudged facts on it. There just are. Like, you can literally use AI to even like demonstrate it.
Is that your experiment?
Oh yeah. So I got that if you want. So
you have a tool. You can use AI to what?
use publicly available data to show there's inconsistencies in the narrative that we've all had portrayed in the publicly, the public media, if you will.
Pertaining to 9/11.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Cool. Easy.
He said
work.
easy.
Light work.
Light work.
Light
okay.
work. Let's get rid of that little Xbox. That's going to kill me.
What's that?
The welcome to Gemini. Yeah, I know. I've met you many, many times, my friend.
This is my first time conversing.
Ooh, welcome.
Hold on. Okay.
And honey, if you're watching in some capacity, I am so sorry because I just realized I have the Honda keys in my pocket.
You can't go nowhere.
Whoops.
All right. Go.
All right. So, let's just start real blanket for nobody who knows, and just to get, because one of the fun things about Gemini is it builds a conversation. You can have different parallel conversations and you can skip between them, and you can just start asking it single word things and it'll know in context to what you're asking it.
Okay.
So let's begin with what happened to the Pentagon on 9/11. There you go.
I'm a slow typer.
That's all good, bro. Okay, so we're going to need to take a few little side notes here. Go ahead and read it.
On September 11th, 2001, American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757, was hijacked and crashed into the Pentagon. The impact caused significant damage to the building, resulting in deaths of all 64 people on board the plane and 125 people in the Pentagon. The crash created a gaping hole in the western side of the building.
Western side of the building.
And several floors were severely damaged. However, the Pentagon was quickly repaired and rebuilt, with the damaged section reopening within a year. The attack on the Pentagon was one of a series of coordinated terrorist attacks that day, which also included the destruction of the World Trade Center towers in New York City.
Okay, so the things to keep in mind here. Now it's starting to build a context for this conversation. Now it knows we're asking about 9/11 and specifically the incident in the Pentagon, and we're asking about what happened to it.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have a conversation we're going to need to keep in our head. So I don't want to influence it by opening up other tabs or anything like that.
Okay.
But we might need to scroll up, or we might need to come back and reference a few things here.
Okay.
The main thing that I'm saying is the Boeing 757.
Okay.
So without asking it anything about that plane, let's now ask it more specifics about what's publicly available, because there's all sorts of things that I can use peripheral information that the AI can't demonstrate, like through videos and pictures.
Okay.
Okay, like if you look at the pictures of the whole, like if you want to bring that up, I don't know if you care to or if people just want to bring it up on their own or whatever, but if you look at the hole that was made in the sign of the Pentagon that day,
Okay.
there's no wing marks at all. I've never had anyone.
Is this the picture right here?
Could be. So there we go.
That's the picture that the Gemini AI gave us.
Okay, so I don't know how much you can zoom in on that or whatever, okay?
Not really.
Okay, so...
Can I? No.
So if you look, though, where... Do you understand the shape of a plane? Like, just from
Yeah.
a bird's eye view,
Yeah.
it has a fuselage that sticks out in the front like a nose,
Yeah.
okay? And
No-
then the
no
wings
plane
stick
whatsoever.
out. There's no wings. There's no plane. There's no engines, which have titanium moving parts in it that are almost indestructible.
Now, this looks like a picture of the damage done after they might have cleared it up, because I'm seeing a ton of people down here.
I
I'm
can't
seeing-
find
I'm
a
seeing-
single picture of plane wreckage in front of the Pentagon. I've seen things that looked a little photoshopped. I've seen suggestions that there was parts, but it's just twisted metal. I've never seen a plane get obliterated when it hits a concrete wall. I've
Okay.
never seen metal sublimate into air.
Right.
So there's all sorts of like. So let's just keep this picture in mind, okay?
I would like to know when this picture was taken, because I don't see any parts of a plane at all.
No.
And if that's insinuating that that's like the impact and now they're just rushing up to it, that I'm going to call bullshit.
Well,
This
this
looks
picture
like
is clearly after
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit.
This picture is clearly after the fact because you
Sure.
can see there's a bunch of things in front
It's
of
just
it.
showing us the damage.
There's no way all those things were on the lawn.
All right,
so that's from a while. Like if you can find a picture of right after, because I'm sure that
All right, well, let's keep asking you questions. But that's
Yeah,
the picture
let's
of
go-
the damage itself. Let's say
Yeah,
maybe the
we're not seeing wing
fuselage and
marks.
stuff. Okay.
Are we seeing wing marks anywhere, even low to the ground?
No, it doesn't even look like a. It doesn't even really look like.
And then if it was low to the ground, we have to ask ourselves, how do you get a plane that size to fly parallel to the ground without scraping its belly along the highway and line itself? You see the highway, how close it is to that western
right here.
wall? How in the world? That plane would be almost as long as the distance between the building and the highway. Almost.
Yeah.
That would be a significant portion of that distance, probably to like halfway.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So to get the plane to get parallel to the ground and keep the wings 3 feet off the ground somehow, it's just a lot of, like, the degree of the turn that they'd have to bank on. There's a lot of peripheral information, but let's just stick to verbal things we can communicate with AI. Okay? So here's what I'm calling into question. Next question for Gemini. So click the Gemini thing there. What was the damage to the west wall?
Okay. The impact of American Airlines Flight 77 on the west wall of the Pentagon caused significant damage, including a large gaping hole in the building. The plane's impact created a hole approximately 80 feet wide and 20 feet deep in the western wall. Collapse of multiple floors. The force of the crash caused the collapses of the first 4 floors of the building above the impact point. Several structure damage. The fire resulting from the crash damaged the steel beams and concrete supports of the building, weakening its structure and causing further collapse. Extensive debris. The crash site was littered with debris from the plane, the building, and the people inside.
Okay, great. So can we scroll up? Is it possible to keep that? Okay, good. I just want to make sure that we can bounce around because this conversation is
I
going to
also have that picture open.
Awesome. So, what's the first bullet point? Can we just emphasize that, or is there
a large gaping hole in the building? The plane's impact created a hole approximately 80 feet wide and 20 feet deep.
Okay, so 80 feet wide, right? Ask Gemini. What was the model? A Boeing 757? Was that the model from the first response?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was in the first response.
What is the wingspan of a Boeing 757?
Hopefully I don't trip this experiment up by misspelling shit. Did I spell Boeing right?
Boeing.
Yep, got it. The wingspan of a Boeing 757 is 124 feet, 10 inches.
Interesting.
38 meters. And then it's saying in relation to an 80-foot hole. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, what's the width of the fuselage?
You're going to have to spell fuselage for me.
Okay.
What's the width of the...
Fuselage, I guess? Fuselage?
What's the width of the fuselage? The fuselage width of a Boeing 757 is approximately 11 feet, 7 inches.
Giant inconsistency. It's definitely not just the fuselage penetrating that hole into the 20-foot point if it made an 80-foot wide hole. And somebody could say maybe it created pushing damage and it expanded it or something like that. But there's just something giantly inconsistent. There's no marks. There should be marks at least outside of that 80-foot hole if there's wings. There should be wing marks on the lawn or something. There's not.
Okay.
There just isn't. It's forensically, if it was a crime scene, it wouldn't add up.
So what else do you ask it to further trip it up? All right, so that's
You can just keep expanding. You can keep expanding on things. How about let's get out of this conversation. Let's back out of go back to Gemini. Click in the top left corner. Just go to home. Click the Gemini logo. Go again once you.
I don't know.
Click that Gemini thing that you just clicked.
I'll just revamp it, reload it, or whatever.
Perfect. Done.
Okay.
how many skyscrapers have collapsed due to structural fire? I know exactly where it's going to give its excuses. The unique circumstance of a plane.
All right. The collapse of the World Trade Center towers on September 11th, 2001 is the most prominent example of skyscrapers collapsing due to fire. While there have been other instances of significant fire damage in high-rise buildings, complete collapse due to fire are extremely rare. World Trade Center 2001, the collapse of the Twin Towers 1 and 2, and the World Trade Center 7,
Tower 7.
is a unique and complex event. The initial impact of the airplane's subsequent...
Unique and complex event. How did I call it?
The initial impact of the airplanes and the subsequent fires significantly weakened the structures, leading to their eventual collapse.
So, like, I could have kept pressing it. Like, I could have kept asking the AI. Like, there was an inconsistency. How could the hole be smaller than the width of the plane?
Mm-hmm.
But then it'll start asking questions that you have to, like, almost ask it like a human. Like, I can see it with my own eyes. There isn't wing marks.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just, like, give you horse shit. It'll just say something about how they're not visible because of an angle or something.
I want to
like
see
that.
it give me horseshit.
Go back to the old conversation.
I don't know how to do that, dude.
Here, click the thing with the Gemini. Yeah, click that, and then click the Gemini logo. Shit. Maybe top left corner where there's the 3 lines. Conversation about Pentagon attack on 9/11. There you go. Go to that one. Okay, now go down to the Ask Gemini.
Okay.
Ask it why the hole is 80 feet and the wingspan is 124 feet or whatever.
Why is the hole 80 feet
Yeah.
if the fuselage is how big? 11? What was it? 11?
No, not fuselage, the wingspan.
Oh, the wingspan.
Let's go with that.
Why is the hole 80 feet if the wing span is, how big was it?
124 feet and some inches.
124.
10 inches. Yeah, use its own language.
Why is the hole 80 feet if the wingspan is 124 feet 10 inches? The 80-foot width of the hole in the Pentagon does not directly correspond to the Boeing 757's wingspan for several reasons. Angle of impact. The plane likely did not strike the building perfectly perpendicular, and angled impact would result in a larger hole
Reasonable.
than the plane's width. You said that's reasonable. Force and explosion.
Okay, let's go back to that picture. I'll explain exactly what it's trying to say.
Oh, wait, it's right up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what they're saying is that 124 number would be if the plane struck the building perpendicular. Okay, if the plane's on an angle, that would mean the fuselage, which is only 11 feet wide, could have made an 80 feet wide hole because it's going in on an angle.
Sure.
Then where the hell would... So that would rotate it so the wing would be more prominently exposed into the building.
If it came in this way, you'd see wing marks for sure.
It would clip the building harder. And B, you would see the wing more exposed and laying on the lawn, which we will not be able to find evidence of when we go on Google Images in a minute.
Okay. So going back.
Okay. So that's where we're stuck. With this conversation is you can't...
Force and
It feels
explosion.
like you're talking to a person.
Okay, so in the impact of the plane combined with the explosion of the fuel would have caused significant structure damage beyond the initial impact area.
All right. So again, these are... Everything about 9/11 has some sort of explanation behind it. There's this thing called the 9/11 Commission report that was released. Widely debated, you know? But let's just go to the... Let's not rely on what other people said. You know, this is a problem. We talked about the appeal to authority. That's a logical fallacy where you rely on other people to be gatekeepers of knowledge.
Sure.
So if something's going on in a conversation, you don't like it, you can appeal to an authority. You can say, well, that's not what the experts say. That's a fallacy. Let's use our own senses for ourselves and go to Google Images. You find me. I'd love to be proven wrong. This would be, honestly, because then I only have to figure out Building 7, and I can put the 9/11 thing behind me and grow up like
What do you want me to type in?
Just Pentagon plane wreckage. Let's try that. Let's try to actively find it.
I probably spelled wreckage wrong.
You did, but
that's cool.
Okay.
Wreckage.
So let's go to images. Let's find anything we can. Anything we can that shows a plane. You're seeing close-up shots of other plane wrecks. That is not the Pentagon in the background.
That's fire down by an Iranian missile. That's
okay, so that's that looks like response. That looks like response vehicles. That doesn't look like no, okay, there are tents and shit though. Try to anything. Just find me a raw photo with a plane in it that has the Pentagon there. I've never seen one.
This one, they still got water shooting
Yeah,
at
that's
it.
still shooting water at it. Do you see a plane?
No.
Okay.
Here's another one.
Okay, smoldering. So now we're seeing smoldering. Is there
so we don't have any, so just so everybody knows, we don't have any tents set up. There's no crazy amount of, like, compared to...
No, there's smoke. You can see the flames still coming out.
Yeah, all right. So
okay.
There's the flames.
Bingo. Where's the plane? I'm just waiting. Like, I want to see, like, that would make me feel more comfortable right now, as if I could see a plane. That I would think I was just being silly.
Okay.
But I don't see... Oh, here's perfect. Please, please, please keep this picture up. Light post, bro.
What, this?
Light post, bro.
Hold on.
How did it not take the light posts out? Wouldn't the wings have knocked the light posts over?
It's not picking that up, but yeah, you're talking about this one right here.
Yes.
These light posts. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of wild. If that's an 80-foot hole, I mean, it would have had to have flown perfectly through that. And then just for more clarification...
Look at all these metal structures that plane would have hit.
Hold on. Now I want to look at light posts. How do I get back out of this shit?
So I'm not saying it was Bush or Cheney or something like that, but it's like, well, what the hell is going on? It definitely wasn't a plane. There's no plane. I don't, with my senses, see plane. I'm being told plane, but I don't see plane.
No, it's just pushing us.
I did see planes hit the tower. I saw
shit.
that happen live. I was old enough to remember that.
Oh my god!
Oh,
yep.
good.
This is South Park happening.
Yeah, this is where we're at.
Get away!
You're trying
we're
to
gonna
get
wind
to
up
the
at
truth.
a Foot Locker.
You're being crazy. Here's your MAGA hat.
Why are you looking
you're
at this?
one of them. Here, I got something I can sell you.
Wow, if that wasn't subliminal. Holy shit.
No, dude, I'm telling you. It's
all right,
like,
so let's keep... all right.
So this is where I'm at, though, is you can't show AI the photo and ask it where the planes are. It'll just, like... this is where we're at, though, is it can give you the facts. Like, it can show you mathematically it doesn't add up, and then it can give you a horseshit excuse as to why it could, theoretically. But you have to sit there with your own... This is what scares me about it. If you were asking me what does scare me about AI, it's that I can have... And, without getting onto some really touchy subjects, it would be impossible to demonstrate. But if you start having philosophy debates with AI, it has a hard left lean.
Okay.
Hard left lean.
I don't know how much we can get into that on Twitch, but...
Yeah, we really can't. But, I mean,
really
I'll try to find... Before, like, I don't want this to be the only time I ever appear on the show.
No, it's definitely not going
I'll try to come better loaded.
You're such a big part of this, whether it's fucking present on every show or not.
It's an honor.
I mean, just so I could set the stage for everybody, like, I was just... Psychotically is probably the best word for it. Brainstorming on what to do with all this angst and energy, and like, I wanted to do comedy, but I was trying to figure out ways to still be there for my family, not be on the road too much, and stay sharp like I would with sales. And I came up with the idea for the podcast and the logo. I knew I wanted a middle finger, and I told you that. I knew I wanted a middle finger, so I walked into his office, which, by the way, it's not a fucking office.
No.
All right? It's not
isn't.
even... All right, it's not even a cubicle, because the cubicles are made from like those little structures that have the stuff you can hang photos.
They have more privacy.
Yeah, cubicles have more privacy.
Lot
It's
more.
pretty much glassed in prison cells is the best way, because that no door having structure feature,
Yeah.
it just gives you the illusion of freedom, but not so much freedom that you actually have privacy.
No.
So anyway,
there isn't privacy. Actually, a customer said something about that.
Yeah, there's
very
not.
recently.
So I walk into Steve's hamster cage for all intents and purposes, and I just go, "Hey, without even thinking about it, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I'm trying to do a podcast. Help me come up with a name.
Yeah.
Help me come up with a logo." And you were just like,
Something with your name. It had
something.
To be
It's got to
Dust.
have my name. And you're like, it's got to have your name. And I always imagined a middle finger with a microphone, and I'm like, it's
No, literally, that's that. I had that logo locked and loaded, and then like it was like meant to be. Like you were the one who was supposed to have that idea, and I'm glad you took it.
Me too.
It's a big honor for me.
Yeah, it's in the midst of being trademarked
That's awesome, man.
and copywritten. Yeah.
No, you have no. Like honestly, like the fact that I was able to contribute to what you were doing, it all felt special.
I'm
really
happy to
did.
have you a part of it, man. Not many people can handle my crazy the way that
I want to
you
be there
guys
more.
do.
I want to be to more of the shows and everything. Life is life, but you know,
we got plans outside of this.
Yeah,
we're
we do.
gonna make some stuff happen.
yeah, we are.
Okay, so you can easily let's get off the 9/11 stuff for
Yeah,
now.
okay. So, and there was, I don't know, third one. You asked for a third conspiracy.
Yeah.
Because the UFO thing, I mean, that's so tired. I
And
mean,
it's not even a conspiracy at this point. It's more like who
Yeah.
believes in aliens or not. It's almost like religion.
well, the conspiracies lie in what the hell is going on.
Like the drones in New Jersey right now.
That's, I'll tell
Which,
you
by
what,
the
I'm
way,
stuck.
if the government still can't tell you what it is, that's kind of a problem.
That's the conspiracies. Why won't they tell us?
They don't even have a theory.
No.
They don't even have a theory to express
No,
to
they're
people
not
right
explaining shit.
now. Which
And
means
that's
they
the-
know,
that's
and
the
we're
upsetting
not
thing.
allowed to,
That's
which is
the
crazy.
upsetting thing. Like, we deserve...
And I find it so crazy. This is all happening right before Trump gets sworn in.
Not an accident.
I don't think anything is an accident anymore. I think everything is a conspiracy. That's my fucking problem.
Well, I try to be careful with that. That's something
Right. Right. Everything's
you
a
can
conspiracy.
really spiral out.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at shit in Walmart going, that's not really what's in there. You know what I mean? I'm not
Well,
fucking
that's
drinking tap
probably
water.
true.
You know? I
That's
wouldn't drink
probably
tap
true.
water.
Yeah, no, I mean, because one, there's so much dark stuff, man. Like, if you really just, like... I shared that meme the other day. It says, like, I know too much and the thing is crying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, you really can, like, if you... There's things you don't want to know. Don't look up where carmine dye comes from.
What?
Carmine dye.
Where's that?
It's in food. I think it's called red number 5.
Oh, yeah.
It's from bugs.
Well, Red 5 used to make me hyperactive as a child.
It's made from bugs.
Sweet. Bugs made me crazy when I was a kid. Destroyed an entire preschool.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I like tried to talk myself out of it. I tried to tell myself like, this has got to be crazy internet stuff. When I saw it, I was like, no.
A lot of things are made from like excess stuff and like runoff. You'd be amazed how many things are made from the runoff of other things.
There's other stuff where like I really wonder. Like I'd love to talk to. Like there's so many things you could make a career out of just like a stupid TikTok that you watch. I saw a thing about the scam of I think it was seed oils.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, like we eat so many seed oil products, and we use seed oil for so many things. It used to be considered a machine lubricant.
Yeah. Machine grade lubricant.
Which is like, well, were we just wasting a food on machines? I mean, that's potentially the case, I suppose. Or was it really just a case of some executive...
We just found out, hey, we could actually eat this.
Some executive figured out. And how nefarious was it? Like, was somebody like, oh, therefore cancer? Like, it could have just been like, dude, I'm a genius. I'm going to feed so many more people for cheap, and everybody's going to love me, and I'm the best guy ever. And, like, he might have thought he was doing a lot of really good for the world. Like, did you ever see the thing about the guy who, the complicated minds of history, like, the same guy who figured out how to pull nitrogen from the atmosphere also invented mustard gas, and he was a Nazi?
I believe that.
The same guy who put lead in fuel as an additive to prevent knocking was also the guy who, what are they called? PFCs or whatever, or PFFCs or something, HFCs. They're like the chemicals that used to be in hairspray that were causing global warming or
Like
something.
aerosols?
Yeah, there was like a chemical that was eroding the ozone layer. It was a refrigerant, and it was used for compressed gases.
Okay.
The same chemist who was destroying the ozone also put lead into all of the food supply. It was the same guy.
And
in
he probably
both-
thought he was doing good things.
He thought he was fixing gasoline and, yeah, he thought he was fixing the world, man. He thought he was Elon Musk, you know, like in his head.
And little did he know he was like just giving everybody cancer.
Yeah, he was literally making the whole world's IQ drop by 10 points for a couple decades.
Yeah, and it shows. It
Doesn't
shows.
it?
I was watching Idiocracy the other day, and I was like, man, this is almost a documentary.
Eerie. The Crocs thing. I think the Crocs thing is the funniest
The
part.
Crocs thing is by far the funniest thing.
That's the funniest, like, after residual thing from that movie, in my opinion.
Most people don't know that that's where they started from. Crocs.
Well, they existed before, but that's the thing is...
They became popular from watching a movie about everybody becoming stupid.
Yeah, who was it, Mike Judge?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Mike Judge was, like, betting that, like, oh, not only will these not be a thing, but they look absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. They look so stupid that
Yeah.
people are going to be like, wow, that's the dumb... Now, and then everybody's like, these are great.
I love them.
I don't own a pair of Crocs.
We have several.
It's good.
Yeah. Amber and I are about the same shoe size, so we can steal each other's Crocs.
Nope, I have... everybody else in the house has Crocs, I think. I don't think the baby has them.
They're just a great beater. They're a great, like, I have a...
I'm a slipper guy. I
have
like
slippers.
a good friggin' like furry, like inserted. You know what I mean? Like I like my feet to feel like they're just being like rubbed up against a bear. You know what I mean? Just you know what I'm saying?
Do you have a pair of moccasins?
I have a pair of like old Nyotes from Israel.
Dude, there's this... they're called Minnetonkas. They'll change your life.
Minnetonkas. I'll check those.
It feels
out.
like you're getting a foot massage when you walk on carpet.
We're still looking for sponsorship.
Okay, let's get a Minnetonka.
Yeah, I'll wear them. I'll wear them to work.
Dude, they're great.
I'll wear them on stage. I'll wear them with my fucking feet up like ow.
They make you feel like a kid playing Indian. Do you remember, like, when you were a kid and you would, like just play out in the woods and stuff
Cowboys
like
and
that?
Indians, yeah.
They're literally soft on the bottom. It's like somebody took a leather bag. Like, it literally feels like your foot's in a leather bag. But there's a foot pad on the bottom. And it's, like, really soft.
Nice.
Oh, it's awesome.
Okay.
Oh, it's so
So you
good.
can actually like walk outside and get the paper without having to worry about your feet getting wet.
So the ones I have are really, really soft, like almost like a suede kind of texture. So I wouldn't
Okay.
wear them outside. I only wear them on carpet or like my linoleum or whatever.
Okay.
But the they have a deerskin one that I feel like you could like legit walk out in the yard with.
If deerskin's tanned well, it feels so good.
It's tough.
It feels good.
It's real tough.
Yeah.
I've had deerskin gloves that I've put through hell. Yeah.
I believe that. I imagine your wardrobe has many a glove.
Oh yeah.
How many pairs of gloves do you say you own and or wear regularly?
That survived. Right now, I have, I don't know, probably seven in the rotation.
Okay.
I have like the super deep cold ones where like I'm not expecting to really use my hands other than like blunt, like opening and closing stuff.
Right.
And then I have a couple leather pairs. Leather's just the best.
With the driving gloves.
Two different pairs of driving gloves, and then I have the service gloves.
It's dope.
And then I have a pair of dressy ones that I can't find right now.
I think I have one pair that I use consistently, and I cut the thumbs off so I can text better.
Yeah. Deerskins. And then just work gloves, like, you know, those mechanic gloves. Oh, they're great. You gotta keep a few pairs of those on deck.
The Call of Duty operator gloves.
Dude, I use those for everything. I keep a pair in my desk too. They're just good to have on deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, save your hands, shred them to shit.
Well, grip is the most important thing in functionality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm figuring that out more and more. Like, if you have stronger hands and then you can protect like your skin on your hand from stuff, it just makes you more useful in like every way.
So we were still going through conspiracies.
Yeah. Yeah, hit me with one.
I want to go deeper into the aliens thing.
Oh, how deep
What do you?
wanna go?
I mean, do you think the drones are aliens? What are the chances that
The
drones are
drone
aliens?
thing is tricky just because at this stage we're in the misinformation part of it. So a lot of the stuff that's out there is horseshit, and there's actually, it's known that like some of the three-letter agencies and stuff have, one, there's something called like an agent provocateur.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody who literally goes into the crowd and just does silly shit to illegitimize what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be things like that going on. There could be people just pretend like they could be a completely fake Facebook account logging onto the Drones Over New Jersey page and just uploading videos of nonsense just to get, knowing that people will see that it's nonsense just to get them talking about the nonsense, just to make noise. You know, if you were trying to listen for a whisper,
you'd want everybody's talking.
If you're trying to hide
screaming.
a whisper, you'd want as much noise as possible.
Right.
So there could be a whisper out there right now, but there's so much noise that I don't feel like listening.
Right.
So I've the drone thing I'm kind of tuning out until there's more information, and I have so many people that send me stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I've kind of collected like a little team.
Yeah.
You know, I've got anytime there's a conspiratorial thing that goes out, I probably get
You have sources to try and fact check it.
dude. We work with a few of them.
True.
You know, and I have people that I used to work with that send me stuff. Like it's if you're into those things, you feel crazy, so you need somebody sane that you can kind of bounce ideas off of.
Or just more crazy people.
Or more crazy people. Sometimes that might be the answer.
Yeah, that's why you and I get along.
Amen.
So you think... So what... I've heard the drones are aliens. I've heard they're looking for radioactive material. I've heard it's Iran. I've heard it's Russia.
So the alien... So that's where I make a distinction with what's going on with UFOs and aliens, because... When people think about aliens, what they think is this. They're thinking the reverse version of us getting into a rocket ship of some sort, leaving the Earth's atmosphere, and then zipping faster than the speed of light to another star system, where there would be another planet like Earth with beings that evolved in a similar way to how we evolved or something like that. Maybe they ended up different than us, but they're intelligent.
Some Star Trek shit.
Right. That's how I think most people, when they hear UFOs and when they hear this stuff, that's where their mind goes, is kind of like a Star Trekian kind of conceptual way of looking at it. I'm less and less convinced of that. So think about this. We're pretty close to making AI. We're playing with it right now.
Right.
Okay. So what's more likely on the scale of physics? If some... society, let's say it's humans, let's say it's some aliens out on planet Gleep Glorp, they're intelligent, they make things, and they constantly make their things better. That's what humans seem to do, at least. We make things, we make them better all the time. Let's see, where am I going with this? So, if we're making things, what will we be more likely to make first? Is it more likely that we would figure out a way to literally navigate space faster than the speed of light accurately and control it and be able to target where things are far away to visit them? Or would it be more likely that we develop AIs?
Be more likely we develop AIs.
Yeah, it's a much simpler concept, something that just computes better and better and better and better. It does what you do.
Until it can do the thinking for us.
Exactly right. So it's way more likely that things break free of reality's constructs before they can traverse it at the speed of light.
Okay.
Like, AI is going to figure out physics problems that we struggle with really bad right now, like super duper quickly. So it's way more likely, if there is some form of wormhole traversing, if there is some form of faster than light speed travel, AI is going to figure it out. It won't be a thing that figures it out. It'll probably be an AI that figures it out. I mean, who knows? Maybe some physicists would say, like, well, you know, if there's billions of potential societies out there, maybe some of them do crack, maybe some spectacular individual within their society cracks the problem and figures out the speed thing before the computer thing. But it's just like, it just seems so unlikely, and whatever technology enables faster than light travel is probably so technologically difficult that you probably figure out how to make computer chips first.
Plus, light speed is not as fast as... I mean, yeah, it's super fast, but...
Well, here's another thing.
On a cosmic scale, it's not nearly as fast as we think it would be for us to use space travel.
We're using 2 supercomputers right now to have this conversation.
Really?
Our brains. There isn't a single computer chip that's anywhere near as efficient as the brain.
I might be still running off of Windows 98, but...
No, dude. So think about this. AI, what's the biggest challenge with AI? We talk about this all the time.
I don't know.
As we develop AI, it keeps needing more and more energy.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing that seems to be screwing with us. Is they're ultimately same thing with Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
You need a lot of energy to mine Bitcoin, and you have to do something with all the heat. Energy is heat. Heat is energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to have something to do with those two problems. Man, sorry, we're like all over the place.
We
I'm
are.
just trying to keep it straight.
Yeah. It's all good.
So
It's like we're just having a conversation in my office.
yeah, I
It's
know.
the
This
same-
is exactly what happens.
It's the same shit,
We
dude.
end up
That's-
swimming
I
in
knew
our
that's what it
soup.
was going to be.
Yeah.
So energy.
So energy, AI, our brains, AI, computers, right? So, your brain can run candy bars.
Oh, my brain can what?
Run on candy bars.
Run on candy bars. Okay.
I've crammed for finals and done so many computations that if I ran them through AI, it would have burned up like a city's worth of energy, you know? Whereas I, as a college student, could run on ramen and candy bars and Red Bulls, and I could do all that computation.
Now you can make the argument that all the energy it took to produce all those foods is into the calculation as well.
Sure, because that's how, but that's through natural and automatic processes. That can be through, like, you know, all food comes from life at some point or another.
Sure.
You know, so
But yeah, that is kind of crazy to think about. That,
yeah, your brain is a supercomputer. It
Yeah,
computes
that it's
way
going to
more
be
efficiently.
it's going to be impossible to go all electric cars because our grid system won't even be able to handle it. But you can learn vast amounts of knowledge and store it and utilize it with a Snickers bar.
The car thing, in my opinion, is with the electric cars. I think it's like they're going to be a niche.
Yeah, like they always have been.
Yeah, I really think that, like, the hydrogen stuff coming out soon, that looks very promising.
I mean, if you can make water into fuel,
Where the waste would be water or something like that.
the waste would be steam.
Yeah, vapor.
Yeah, exactly. Steam is whatever.
Yeah, it's harmless.
It's just not doesn't pack a punch. You can't do a fucking 9-second quarter mile on
No,
water.
they're starting to make some crazy stuff. That's
I'm
the
hoping
thing.
they could.
So, I mean, I think that who knows? I mean, I could be dead wrong about this, but the electric stuff just has so many, like, the trade-offs are great. I've been in Teslas, dude. I know how nice they are.
I've never been in one.
They're so crazy. They feel weird. Like, if you're a car person, they feel weird.
I've been in a Chevy Bolt, which is all electric, and
I've
that
never
thing.
been in one of them, no.
I mean, I'm sure it's not nearly as nice feeling as a Tesla, but just the torque alone, the 0 to 100% torque output off your pedal, it's jarring. It's like, oh shit!
Yeah,
like,
it's
you're like,
weird.
oh my god!
No, my
You feel like you're in a 10-second car.
Well, my aunt has the Model X, the bigger
The one that has
Tesla.
the doors that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the gold wing one. She has that, and it felt bizarre. It felt really heavy.
Because
Like,
they are. Those
well-
batteries are fucking massive.
Dude, it felt heavy, but, like, ridiculously instantly powerful. And it felt like all the weight was underneath you. Like, and I know, like, yes, that's obvious. That's where the battery is and everything. But, like, I don't know. If you're a car person, like, you know that I'm in love with the German car thing.
Sure.
They feel good. They're balanced. Like, the engineers are worried about, like, the power to weight ratios and the distribution of the wheels and how far apart everything is and how that handles into curves, and they feel different. The electric thing, the feeling on them is just bizarre. Yeah, they just feel really bottom heavy, and the power curve is like, it's nice, but it just takes a lot of getting used to, and the way it glides feels totally different. Like, once you get it up to speed on the highway and everything. I just prefer gas.
Yeah.
But
Fair enough. And we got to that by saying our brains are supercomputers.
yes.
What point were we making by that?
I don't know. We covered the
Because you were saying you were
China
making the
thing.
comparison to the human brain to AI
Yeah, we're way more efficient.
for now.
Until we develop a chip that operates the way that our neurons do, which would be crazy. I mean, that would be...
Do you think we're even close to that?
The organoids.
The organoids?
Yeah. We didn't talk about...
You just made that up.
The butterfly matrix. Didn't we talk about this?
We might have. We talk about a lot of crazy shit involving matrices.
As far as I can tell, this is a real thing. I did some background checking on it. Like, okay, the company really does exist and stuff like that. So they can grow tissue. We know this, like, for surgical stuff. Like, they can try to regrow. Like, they're not good enough to regrow a whole, let's say liver.
Right.
Or something like that. But they can grow stuff. So it's totally possible to grow brain tissue, which is very, very unique. In all of nature, human brain tissue is the most magical thing that's ever been produced. So if you could grow human brain tissue in a petri dish and it wasn't attached to a human nervous system, it wouldn't be burdened by our body's requirements. You would just give it the nutrients it needs to operate, and it would be a crazy efficient little computer. They plugged it into Pong.
Oh.
Doesn't take it long. It's actually way faster at learning than conventional computers.
So they made an organoid, which is pretty much just a brain not attached to a body, and they made that from scratch, starting off in a petri dish, and it now plays Pong.
Yes. Oh, it gets way weirder than that.
Go on.
Okay, so then they've started doing other things, and they need data. In order to develop any of this stuff, they have to have data feedback. So they want to give it input, and they want to measure its output. They created a sim of some sort of simulator that would approximate, like it would make when you're playing a video game, you're an avatar. Mm-hmm. Like when you play Red Dead Redemption, you're a guy with a gun, and that environment. So that's like a little simulated world. They're starting to create sims of a butterfly life.
Okay.
Like, you are a butterfly. You can look around. You can sense things with your little feelers. You can learn how to flap. Like, oh, if I think this with my neurons, the wing flaps down. When I think this way, it flaps up. And then if I keep doing it, oh, look, I take off. And
they're doing it on this organoid brain?
Yeah, they're taking the organoids and they're putting them into a butterfly matrix. Like, the movie The Matrix, they're just all gel people inside of like a pod, and then eventually they
So they're pretty much downloading the scenario in which they are a butterfly.
Yes.
And this brain petri dish type material is performing butterfly tasks.
So then we started getting into these weird ethical questions, like, well, how conscious is this thing?
Conscious enough to flap, I guess.
Conscious enough to think it's a butterfly and perform butterfly tasks. Like, it learns that getting nectar from a flower is pleasurable. And it starts seeking that task out, and it starts liking to fly, and it starts, like, associating with other butterflies that are in their own little butterfly matrix, sharing a domain. Yeah, that's, like, spooky shit, man. I mean, like, if you think about, like, us, like, simulation theory or the Matrix, like, that stuff goes so deep. Because, like, hopefully we have a good understanding of what we actually are. Hopefully we're actually, like, meat puppets using a nervous system to control it, and we're controlled by our nucleus. Like, those butterflies think they're butterflies. They don't realize that entire thing is fake.
What are the chances that we're just butterflies in the fucking simulation?
The simulation theory is probably right. There's definitely things that... No,
so you think it's probably the most accurate of, like, what is life?
No, it's just that, like, there's things you can't ignore where it's like, well, why the hell does that happen if we're not in some sort of simulation?
Like what?
Speed of light.
The speed of light?
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that for me? Why does the speed of light happen?
Sure, you play games all the time for the channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go play a game. Imagine that you were the butterfly matrix and that game is your real reality.
Mm-hmm.
How could you figure out that it's fake?
I don't know, try and glitch it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Play Skyrim and walk under Whiterun for the 1000th time?
Glitch it or find its barriers. Walk to the edge of the map.
Where's the edge of the map?
Speed of light. That's the barrier that limits all things in the universe. It's the speed of light. and gravity, which we don't understand.
Yeah, we don't understand shit about
So
gravity.
gravity we
just
don't
know it is.
understand. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, we just know it exists.
And then you look at the speed of light, it's this weird cosmic speed limit. It seems to self-impose itself. It dictates the limits of all the other things in the game. Then you look at the way light behaves, it's very odd. Like the double slit experiment, it's very strange. It very much suggests some sort of weird simulation.
I've heard it and seen it and never really understood why it's actually explaining different dimensions.
Okay,
or
so
simulation.
I'm not a physicist. I could be giving you the super monkey brain version of this, and there's somebody that could give you a galaxy brain version of it that I just don't get.
Okay.
But essentially, if you look at the way light passes through slits, it behaved differently when it was being observed. So when you just let light float through and you're not watching it, it seems to go through, like if you had multiple slits, it would go through each one, and then sometimes it would go through two of them and bounce off of itself.
How do you mean bounce off of itself?
The distortion pattern it makes.
Okay.
So, like, for example, if you made waves and you did the same exact things in water, and you splashed water up against a wall that had breaks in it, the waves, when they get through the other side, would interfere with each other.
Okay.
Light did that to itself. It created reverberations off of itself, which suggested it went through both holes at the same time. But then when you observe the light, it doesn't interact with itself in exactly the same way. It chooses which hole it goes through, from what I understand.
Okay.
What else behaves like that in a video game? There's, in Grand Theft Auto, you see a building off in the distance. There's a building there. You can drive towards it. You can fly towards it in your helicopter, whatever. But there's not actually a bunch of people in the way. It hasn't generated them yet because it needs to save its processing power for the driving that you're doing. So what it does instead is it puts where a bunch of people would potentially be. And then as you drive past it, it'll choose to spawn or not spawn a person. And then when it does, it'll randomize what person spawns.
Okay.
Particles seem to do that. They seem to exist in multiple places and even interact with themselves. And then
But only in reference to an observer.
When they're observed, they behave differently.
Now, you're saying when they're observed, like what's making it unobserved that's
Measured.
allowing us to see it?
When they try to count them, or when they try to understand where they landed. So, or if they try to measure the speed of it or something.
So they
like that.
record it, right?
Yeah, if it's being recorded or
Isn't
measured.
that just another form of observation? What if they act differently?
Exactly.
What if they
it's
act differently?
nothing more than observation.
Yeah. But I'm saying if it's being observed through a camera,
Right.
which is the only way you could say that it's doing one thing without somebody looking at it.
Right.
That's still a form of observation. What if nothing's recording, no one's looking at it? Would it behave differently? And is there any way to find out? Did I just find a way to glitch the Matrix?
Does a tree...
Oh, okay. Does a tree make noise if it falls in there? I gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, fuck. All right. So if we get to those points, it's just, all right, simulation.
Could be.
Could be. Okay.
Strong possibility.
Almost 2 hours in. We're doing good.
Yeah,
man.
it's...
Any topics you wanted to talk about? I know you prize you value my opinion on certain things, that you had to have thought of something to titillate. What
It's
you
your
got?
world, man. I'm just a visitor right now.
This is a lot of
I'm
your
an
world
honored-
too, homie.
honored guest.
You're just in a seat form of what my brain looks like.
This is awesome.
Yeah, all of this stuff
This is great.
It's just like stuff I've acquired over time, awards and sales, fucking anime out the ass.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Working on that myself.
What, your anime collection?
Just trinkets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get into transcendental stuff more, and beauty and aesthetic is a part of that.
Okay. What do you mean? What's transcendental?
In philosophy, like I get mired in like a lot of the really concrete shit all the time, like ethics.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's fun to talk about like beauty,
Okay. Like
purpose.
Okay. Like appreciate things for how they look.
Yeah, aesthetic.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Why else? What's the point of living? If you can't find the beauty in
It's a good
things.
question.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so simulation seems to be the most likely thing. Great.
I mean, it's a really
Whoever built
strong
my fucking
possibility.
character is a dick. Like, make me taller.
Amen.
Couldn't have made me
No,
taller?
I'm not saying that. I'm grateful.
Yeah, because you're taller than me. You'd be grateful
Listen,
too.
man. I mean, we all have our crosses we bear, but I mean, I sometimes feel like a character that got hit with weird balances throughout its meta.
The skill trees.
Yeah, like, okay, I'll give you a really good problem solving, but you can't fall asleep.
I love that analogy for life.
Yeah.
You know I use it so often. If you're a video game character, everything that you do in life develops a certain skill tree. Some skill trees balance others.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I'll give you a crazy metabolism, but I don't know. You know, your joints hurt all the time. Like an old man.
What skill tree is that unlocking?
Ah, dude, who the you know, it's just trying to make sense of
Patient skill tree. You just XP up every 5 minutes.
Oh, well, that's one thing. I'll tell you what, if there's one topic that if we're 2 hours in and just to brush over it that we talk about all the time, it would be stoicism.
Stoicism.
So important, man.
I know you're a heavy practitioner, and I'd like to get a little bit more versed in the calm aspect of stoicism.
Well, you know, that's the thing is a lot of people confuse stoicism with unemotional or being really, really calm or something like that. But that's like describing a facial expression, like a stoic facial expression would be one that's not revealing anything or seems, you know, unmoved by stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What that actually means in your mind is so much different, though.
Explain.
Being unmoved. Everyone, I mean, as you know, with my religious beliefs, I believe we're all flawed beings. And we also just, you know, we're conscious beings. We have thoughts. And a lot of our thoughts are just based off of what our meat puppet wants and needs, and that's not always a good thing.
Right.
So I think we have to temper ourselves against our flawed human nature.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you. Do you think thoughts are a physical reaction or an emotional or a mental one?
Okay, so somewhere near the bottom of the rabbit hole, there's fun questions like, what are numbers?
Aren't they just a representation of quantities in a literary sense?
Are they? Is the number 2 a thing?
When we connect several points together, sure.
It's an interesting question.
We give it value.
It's an interesting question. What is the number 2? I can't point to the number 2. I can point to 2 things.
Sure.
But I can't point to the number 2. It's a concept.
Sure.
So how real is it? Surely 2 is real.
The
How can you
explaining of
understand anything if you can't understand 1 from 2?
2. Okay.
But it's not a thing. That's not a physical thing. It's not a real thing, but it really is a thing.
Yeah, I think you pushed me down the rabbit hole a little too quickly on that one.
Yeah, that's a midnight with a blunt kind of thought right there. But I mean, that
sounds like you're 5 tabs in.
Oh
kind of theory.
Yeah, that's some.
That's somebody put something special in that blunt.
You're swimming in your own soup at that point.
I always wondered that. Like, do you think thoughts are a physical reaction to things, or is it an emotional one? Like, both things, because you don't really have control of the thoughts. I do truly believe that if you try and react happy or positively to things, that will help culture positive thoughts.
Well, so I don't
It's
know
kind
if
of like
that's
that manifesting we were talking about.
I don't know if that's stoicism as much as manifesting, but I believe in both, and I
Yeah.
think they influence each other. Yeah.
Yeah. I've often confused stoicism with, relinquishing power.
Well, stoicism. So we talk about ethics
Sure.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 2 hard ways to view normative ethics. There's you either judge things from their intentions or what rules they followed, or you judge them by their outcome. That's about it. There's a third kind of flavor of ethics. It's like a gray area between that black and white, that yin and yang, if you will, which would be virtue. That's how you add another dimension to studying ethics. Ethics is very 2-dimensionally divided between intentions and outcomes, or, if you will, consequentialism versus deontology, if you're somebody who studies this stuff. So virtue is like a third dimension that you can use to escape that linear, straight line, black and white, flat view of it.
Right.
Virtue is characters. character trait type thing. So stoicism, part of it is practicing courage, which sounds really corny.
Sure.
And it doesn't sound very fun or exciting, and it can actually, cornily enough, sound really scary.
Yeah.
Working on courage. But we all need to work on courage. It's a trait. It's one of those stoic virtues that we have to embody.
And then the opposite of virtue being vice.
We all get sick. We all have family who gets sick.
Mm-hmm.
We all lose people. We all get anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to be unmoved and learning how to temper yourself and react to those things that you know are going to happen, that's stoicism. It's not having emotions. It's learning to be in control of your emotions and guide them towards things that are useful to yourself.
You know, not letting the first thought be how you feel.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. Well, maybe not my biggest problem. I definitely let my thoughts run wild. I definitely try and confront them. You know, when the thought pops into my head, there is a battle that ensues. A lot of times. I think if there isn't, there's a problem.
The storm within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So how long would you say you have been an avid practitioner of stoicism? And what do you utilize on a daily basis to try and practice? Like practice makes perfect, right?
Yes.
So
great question. Very good question. So
that's what I do.
There's a difference between doing something and consciously doing something. So I think a lot of people have stoic virtues that they know about or that they try to embody, but they might not be consciously thinking in their head, I'm going to be stoic about this. So I think that began for me with my mother and my father. Both my parents were fantastic parents, but in particular, my mother was born without a left hand. She only has a right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother never let her say she couldn't do anything. She was allowed to say something was really hard. She was allowed to say something was going to take longer, but she wasn't allowed to say can't. And I was born with pain. I was born with chronic pain. I'm in pain every single day of my life. You've never seen me not in pain. I can't get sleep because of it.
Mm.
I've never been allowed to say I can't do something. I gotta get up. I gotta do what I gotta do. So, you know, I think it started there, and my whole life there's just this aspect of you figure it out, life happens, there's gonna be things that feel unfair. What can you do about it? Can you do anything about it? Is this worth spending your time, effort, and energy on? And then there's, you know, at some point in my life, I was watching an internet video, and it was I could probably find it if I looked for it. It was talking about Marcus Aurelius. And it was talking about how Stoicism started in philosophy, like the historical start of Stoicism. And it was like I had been studying philosophy, and I wanted to learn more about the different forms of things. And when I found Stoicism, it was just the story of how it started and who Marcus Aurelius was. And I had a word. We always talk about language. Everything is built off of our language. Mm-hmm. So now I had the word stoicism, and it was something that I was like, I do that. But by having the word stoicism and by being able to study it and realize that other people were consciously putting effort into doing this, it wasn't just this thing I could do on accident. It could be something I practice and get better at every day, like you said, which there's only really two ways to get better at it. There's meditating. You know, that can involve listening to other people talking about it. It could be turning off all forms of stimulation and just going within and focusing on the things you already know and trying to execute it, try to actually do it. You can have all the perfect ideas in your head, not actually do them. So meditation is really powerful, but then it does get down to the point of practice. You know, it really does, like courage. That's been one that keeps coming back to me. It's hard.
That's a tough one to practice.
It's hard.
Yeah, you know, I once had somebody tell me, you know, you only lie when you're afraid, so be fearless.
Accountability is one of the tougher
one of the biggest
topics.
Forms of courage that I had, probably one of the biggest issues with. Early adulthood, you know, I was doing nothing but deception and lying. I was like a little feral animal. I've told you several accounts. Some comedic, some tragic. But at the end of the day, when I decided I would like to be a part of this, society, at least to some certain extent, getting honest was a big thing. It's like, all right, is the story good enough? Sure it is. Am I good enough? Is what I know, like we were talking about, carrying the knowledge we know with confidence, building up the trophy case, carrying the knowledge that I'm aware and trusting myself that I'm able to carry it out.
Enter player one.
Right.
There's a lot of, I can't stand how fashionable it's become like a meme or whatever, but everybody uses the term NPC.
Yeah.
Okay, I used to call people zombies. There's a lot of people that don't have free will because they're not using it.
Right.
If you don't use it, you don't have it.
Some people are kind of just dumped into a system and like routine. Some routines are good, some will kill you.
There is no spoon. No, seriously.
I've seen several spoons.
When it's just like the Matrix, we mentioned the butterfly Matrix. There's some of my favorite movies because the core, like the first Matrix movie, is one of the greatest works of philosophy ever as an allegory.
Okay.
Like as an allegorical work, it's one of the greatest works of philosophy ever because it touches on so many things and shows how they overlap as a constellation of ideas. Mm-hmm. But like in it is this concept of being. There's a difference between being and becoming. And there are certain things you only are when you are. Like the concept of the one was like when he came to her, the joke was, well, first it was a programming joke. She gave him a cookie.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
First she gives him a cookie. Then she asks him, or she says, you're here to ask me if you're the one or not. And then she jokingly checks him, like, stick out your tongue, let me see your palm. And then she says, the fact that you're asking means you're not. And he's like, I don't understand. And she's like, the one doesn't ask if he's the one. He is. He knows it. It's just like being in love. You feel it from your balls to your bones. That's the quote. I love that quote.
It's a good quote.
It's a great quote. So that's the whole thing is with having free will, you have to act and believe as if you do, or you don't have it.
Right.
And you can actually convince yourself you don't have free will. That's what I think is dangerous about certain things with philosophy. Mm-hmm. We talked about magic. You can use magic to turn somebody's free will off. You can convince them that we live in a deterministic universe and that society is the reason that there's all those probably intersectional, politics explains why you're down on your luck and you can't do anything about it.
Yep, there's nothing you can do.
No.
It's all out of your control.
It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
So it comes back to accountability. That's the enter player one pressing start button. When you accept your accountability and turn on your free will, you have it.
Some people will spend their entire lives in the fucking tutorial. Some people will spend their entire fucking lives in the tutorial, dude.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is because and I don't claim to be better than any, I don't claim to be worse than any, but at the same time, I do truly feel like I am playing a game. I feel like every experience gives me XP. I feel like you're not an NPC to me, you're a storyline character. And that's not like a deflating of who you are to me. It's more like okay, this is part of the storyline.
Yeah.
There are side quest characters, and then there's the fucking NPC shopkeepers that you can put a basket over their head and steal all their wares. You know what I'm saying? And
Starfield style.
Yeah, well, actually, that's Skyrim style.
Right
Starfield, I'm sure.
No, I know. I'm not.
Let me ask you a question. What is their use for giant pots in space?
Right.
There is none. No. They got that from Skyrim because they wanted you to steal shit from the NPCs, which is, I don't know, man. I feel like sales has given me like 100% speechcraft. You know what I mean? And it's also in my doing so, if I start opening up the stoicism skill tree and with an already mastered speechcraft bar, what can I accomplish?
All right, so I'm topic cramming a little bit, but to get another really great thing that we can always revisit, or if somebody watches this and was like, oh, I'd love to expand on this subject or whatever.
We got 2 people watching. We got
one.
Maybe
down the road.
Maybe one bot and one other person. But
who knows? But if somebody's interested in the topic of game theory, that is so good.
Explain game theory.
Game theory. So everything operates on rules, just like life. Mm-hmm. Life operates on rules. A video game operates on sets of rules. If I hit the stick forward, the joystick, my character moves forward.
Like gravity is a rule.
Yeah, if I hit A, I jump, but only this high.
Mm-hmm.
If I steal this, I get caught. Oh, if I put the basket over the head, I don't get caught. I can steal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's all the... So game theory has a lot of... So the easiest way... Like, we were talking about the planned obsolescence. The easiest analogy is the light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest way to explain game theory might be driving and speed limits, especially in Jersey.
Mm.
Okay. All right, so it's 65 miles per hour on this road, right?
It's a suggestion.
If you're looking...
Right.
How many of us... Honestly, even if it's 25, like let's say you went 30 and a 25 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's
only
no
30.
cops. There's
Right.
no kids around. Who cares? You're breaking the rules. You decided in your game that it's more important to get where you're going. Your time as an asset, it's a zero-sum game. You only have so minutes in it every day. You've measured out that the risks of going beyond that speed limit, which is it's an arbitrary thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rule. It's something that's not a physical limitation that's been put in our vehicles yet.
It's something we decided should be done
Collectively.
collectively. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
Which
just
residential areas? Watch your fucking speed. I got kids.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because then you're gonna get an angry Jewish guy out front with a baseball bat, slowing your car down on purpose.
I'm with you, but I'm just saying. I think most people, if I say to them with a straight face, are traffic laws a suggestion? It sounds like a funny question, but it's not, because if I ask that very same person, like, well, when you drove to this conversation, do you follow every single speed limit? Every single one, even on the off ramps where you can only go 25 and your car's already rolling 60 miles an hour and you can slow it down to 45 without breaking your pads off. You know, you broke a couple speed limits getting here, bud. You just weighed out the risks and rewards and you decided, I'm already rolling and I'm not going to slam my brakes. I'm going to go 45 through this 25 ramp.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's game theory, is the more you start looking at life from different angles and trying to figure out, well, what can I do?
What can I get away with?
Not just get away with, but it's like, well, it was something like, there's an intelligence test. There's one version of an IQ test where it's like, how many different ways can you use a paperclip? And a dumb person will come up with like 5 or 7 or 10 uses or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
A really smart person starts going, well, what's a paperclip? How big can a paperclip be? Can I have a paperclip that's like the size of a building?
Mm-hmm.
Can I make it out of foam? Because then it could be a flotation device. Can I make it out of, carbohydrates where I can eat it and then it's a food?
Mm.
Like this, so that's what I mean.
Okay.
Is like, so game theory. You start like trying to look at like.
But if
think
somebody
about it.
hands you a paperclip and says, "How many uses can you use this for?"
So Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
Okay, I think a lot of people,
Back
even
to
if they don't
GTA.
play it.
I will be playing the new one when it comes out.
Me too.
Yeah, let's
Hell
go.
yeah, we'll
Let's
play
go.
that together.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cross-plat too. So
That'll
let's
be
go.
great. So, Grand Theft Auto. Okay, there's going to be a bunch of people who just play Grand Theft Auto. There's going to be other people who try to hack it, or who try to make mods.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be other people who try to find all the Easter eggs and all the loopholes.
Then there's the people
Life
that-
is like that.
Then there's the people that try and max the game out and try
Yes.
to do everything like Ebony Warrior style.
Some people play, albeit not well. They never get their stats up very high.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some people that never start player one. They never accept their accountability
Mm-hmm.
in life. They never act as though they have free will, so they never do.
Mm-hmm.
They're a side quest for somebody else. So so game theory, you can really start looking at life and just being like, how can I work this bitch?
Yeah,
How can I make this, like, how can I do what I want?
I feel like I do that.
How can I get this thing? I like that car.
Mm-hmm.
I like that outfit. I want my character to have that outfit. I want to get around in that car. That would be very nice for me.
Mm-hmm.
How can I get it? How do I work backwards from that? What can I do that I'm allowed to do here?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I like game theory. I feel like it's very similar to what I already do.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's just become co-opted by a bunch of like crypto nerds.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just think I think life is so much simpler, and I mean, like, yeah, it's complicated. Like, many aspects of life are complicated, but it is so much simpler. Like, if it's something you want, you got to build up the stats to be like, it's like an area that you can't go past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it's like World of Warcraft. You can go to a certain area where the fucking guys are way more strong than you should be.
Character classes.
And like, you know, I honestly think like character selection's a thing. Like, I can't tell you if I'm a Breton or a Nord. You know what I'm saying? Like, or a Khajiit. Like,
Did you ever play D&D?
Some people are built to be stealthy. Some people are built to be good talkers. Did I ever play D&D? No, not officially.
You have to roll for your stats.
Yeah, that I did know.
Birth lottery.
Yeah, some people are genetic freaks, both mentally, and then you get the genetic freaks that are just like gigantic, barely worked out a day in their lives, and they're friggin' massive. And
well, in his book, Moral Luck, or I think it's a book, Thomas Nagel, moral philosopher, discusses there's all different sorts of birth lottery. There's your genetics. Mm-hmm. Some people are genetic freaks, dude. There's some people that look like cattle. Like their hands are the size of dinner plates, and they're 6'5", and they can do everything better than you. And there's people that are built like that are like twice as smart as anyone you'll ever meet. Mm-hmm. There's just people out there that are
Dolph Lundgren.
There's other people that are, you know, their brain tissue is so good at pattern recognition and problem solving and memory retention that they're like little computers. They're people, but they're like little computers. You know, there's just so, and then there's like, well, what are your parents like? What was your birth like? You know, were you born into a lot of love? Were you born into support? Did you have great examples around you? Were you in a country that speaks English? Did you have access to clean water? Like, there's all these things that it's all luck. It's just all birth lottery, moral luck. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, game theory, you have to roll for your character when you're born, and you don't really get to choose a lot of that. Like, right. Oh, cool.
It's more left up to chance.
Nice, you were born into a middle-class family. That's awesome. That's good for you. Mm-hmm. But then from there, you are a player character, and you get to exercise your will and make decisions that influence the direction things go in and the outcomes that you achieve.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I like game theory.
That's how I'm putting it. That's like applied game theory.
Sure.
A lot of game theory is actually just super boring math.
I ran into the Walmart NPCs today. You know how you were talking to me about, like, you have a plan when you go into a store? I had a plan. And I had people making U-turns with their carts, man. What? Just so everybody's aware, when I'm out in public, like, I must imagine, which is why you should all be very glad I'm practicing controlling my thoughts and feelings. But when I'm out in public, I imagine assaulting most of you. I just do. Because there's so much there's so much going on in my brain about what you're doing that you're so lucky that I have control.
If I headphones are the savior of that.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's the best advice I've ever taken, and it's the best advice I'll ever give.
Thank you.
And it may actually be one of the best jokes I've written, but I'll be saying
it's up there. I still say you got to find a way to do the cringe in the shower.
I'm working on it.
That's going to be gold.
I told you I'm writing a special. I have material that I go over.
I'll be there.
Maybe once or twice a week.
I'll be there.
It's more of a story about myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, of course you'll be there, dude. I'm gonna yeah, I got you. I got to get to the point where I'm relevant enough. You know, I'm only relevant to me and mine, which, you know, you guys love me, which is cool. You know, and you know, there's some creeps out there that like me so far. So I'm trying to get relevant so I can get my words out there.
All right, so if you could boot up your video game into different save states, everybody has that fantasy. Oh man, if only I could go back.
If only I had saved it.
If only I had saved.
So you're talking about loading back.
Yeah, what if you could load a previous Oh man, right before that one mission went down, man, I made a few choices that really screwed up my friggin' team that I had going on in my gear, and everybody has that. Everybody goes through that. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't you just start doing what you're doing now, but sooner?
Yeah.
So why not just do what you want to do sooner? Why not just be what you want to? Why not wear the clothes that you? Why not be awesome? Why not just start being awesome?
Yeah.
You have an idea of what, and you know what? Sometimes it's funny. You start trying to do what your version of awesome is, and your version of awesome changes.
Mm-hmm.
So go to the next stage. Just start doing it.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's what I insist that everybody do. Getting outside of the comfort zone is a big thing. You know,
It takes courage.
Right. You were talking about courage, and I was talking about like my buddy Joe Perry, who I've talked a lot about on the Skinny Joey Merlino podcast. He would always say, like, I don't lie because you only lie when you're afraid, and I'm not fucking afraid of you. You know, that's just, first of all, that's such a badass thing to live by.
That's
and
awesome.
not only does he say it, but he lives it. Like, I've never seen him mince words with people. Like, it doesn't matter who he's talking to. Same thing with me, man. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I will match your energy like no one else has. And if you want to push the boundaries of that, like, I will make you very well aware, like, I can do this dance with you. You know, you want to be a fuckface? I got you covered. You know what I mean? You want to be nice to me? I'll be nice back. Oh, this guy's real. Let me be myself, which, you know, comes with a lot more humor and a lot more crazy.
The sales character class is fantastic for developing that skill set.
I think it's a good guild. It's a good guild to join. You know what I mean? I think first of all, customer service.
Spellcasters.
Yeah. Wordsmiths is what I've called it.
Spellcasters.
I call it speechcraft, kind of like Skyrim, dude.
Spells. You're making what you want. So what would magic be? By definition, it would be making reality influenced by your will.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's been co-opted by like Satanists and stuff like that.
Sure.
But,
damn Satanists ruining everything with their sacrificial goats.
Hippies.
Godless hippies.
Godless hippies. Well, I've just said this. Satanism is spicy atheism. That's all that is. I don't know anybody who's like consciously and actively rooting for the bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like corny.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, I don't know. That's just, I'm sorry, I'm going to piss some people off with that probably, but I mean.
Entitled to your opinion.
If somebody literally believes there's like, and I get Satanism. Like, oh, you just don't get Satanism. It's like, okay, so you mean libertarianism? Like, it's spicy libertarianism or it's spicy atheism.
That's kind of where I fall, is libertarianism in most cases.
It's the best way to be on an interperson. So the whole thing, I keep telling you, I'm writing a book. It's going to be about this cognitive system dissonance. It's going to be about how, on a personal level, as people, we need to be compassionate and empathetic. We need to take a global view of things.
Mm-hmm.
But on a society level, we have to do the opposite.
Okay.
I think most people try to do the inverse. A lot of people think they need to make themselves a savage, and society should be really kind and caring and take care of everybody. It should really be the other way around.
Right. And it actually is. Society and life is a savage, and you should be the one who's kind and peaceful.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
That's nature.
100%.
But if, you know, it's easy for me to say because of my beliefs. This all makes total sense to me because of my beliefs.
Fair enough.
Oh, final conspiracy. I got a third one for you.
Go for it.
I believe that the flood, as described by Noah's Ark, was a totally real thing.
Yeah.
And that it's like there's a like the ancient Egypt stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in like the Atlantis. I guess you would call it like the ancient apocalypse stuff.
The Younger Dryas impact.
Yeah, all that. I think there's so much merit
dude.
to all that.
Oh my god,
there's so much merit to that.
I've watched so much Graham Hancock in the past few months. It's ridiculous. Just YouTube videos of the ancient apocalypse shit is so good.
Yeah,
it's so good. But yeah, like there's almost complete and total physical evidence of mass floods, impact events, quick thawings that led to more flooding in North America. The topography matches up to exactly what's described, and every single fucking culture on this planet has a flood myth. Every single one of them. And in every single fucking flood myth, there's a guy or gal or god who shows up, typically by water or air, and bestows knowledge on the fucking the people that are there.
Right.
Every single one.
And to take the animals.
Yeah.
And then the flood happens, and they're supposed to be the rebuilders. And the flood's happening because everybody's bad, and there's a reset. It's a common, weird archetype. We talked about that in the beginning.
Yeah.
This is my constellation of beliefs. Like, I keep using that term. Like, this is all of it. It makes sense. It's all coherent. It all adds up to itself. That's That's all we can do. All of us have to build our own constellation of beliefs. That old society thing, I don't know how it impacts my daily life, but just in the transcendental pursuit of trying to like know thyself and to try and understand the world that we live in, I really think that when you look around at the ancient world, there's some weird, funky shit.
I think there's enough funky shit going on right now.
I don't know how people need so much fiction. I really don't. Like, I have some fiction in my life, but if, like, all you have to do, like, was that this conversation, or was it, I don't know if we were recording when I said, like, just pick a topic, and you said food.
Yeah,
I said, like,
we weren't recording for that.
Yeah, I could stare at a tomato and think about growing it and processing it and all the things you can do with tomatoes and all the ways that and biologically the way photosynthesis created the amino acids.
That instant in the supermarket, you're just downloading all that information.
You can just sit there tripping out like on anything. If you, my grandmother's adage, you know, you want to talk about virtue ethics. One of her little proverbs was that only stupid people get bored.
Yeah, I don't get bored often.
No one gets bored.
See, but that's the thing. I
enough.
don't get bored often, but I truly believe there's several topics where I am pretty fucking stupid.
You have to know where you're smart and where you're dumb. Nobody's smart at everything.
Oh, I truly believe the only way to counteract your dumb is surround yourself with smart.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's the only way, dude. And I didn't know the phrase until you explained it to me, but being an autodidact, just a person who enjoys learning new things, which is me to a T. Like, I truly enjoyed learning the process of streaming and editing. Like, you saw me when I started, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And if you go back all the way to my first clips, it's literally just posted, and like I had no idea how to do overlays and add words and
Sure.
text and closed captions. Like, I truly enjoyed diving into that. But then there's stuff where like my fucking brain just locks up.
Yeah.
I've never been one to shy away from learning more. And you don't seem to have ever, like, yeah, there's probably stuff you'd be like, no, I don't see the value in learning that.
No, I have to admit, I have fear.
Oh, I'm sure everybody's got fear.
I have inadequacies or insecurities about, like, for example, math.
Okay.
It's always been my Achilles heel.
I'm actually pretty decent at math.
Doesn't shock me.
It's a salesman thing.
Oh, you're a bright guy.
I would also say that, you know, when you... What's the best way to put this? When you start to learn more, your brain is capable of learning more in other capacities.
Sure.
Like, it's almost like it's like if you do one workout, eventually you'll be able to do more intense workouts.
Vocabulary.
What do you mean vocabulary?
I keep coming back to that superior worth hypothesis. Everything you understand is based on the language upon which you understand it.
Right.
Learning more words literally increases your brain's aperture. So like when your mind is focusing on an idea, it's literally giving you a bigger... When you learn more words, you actually have a bigger lens from which to mentally conceptualize things, and you have more opportunities to think about it.
It's probably like why salespeople get better over time. It's because they've not only had so much time to think about only a few scenarios. It's like I told you, man, like there's not many objections I can't conquer or at least don't have a good response to because I've heard them all. I don't know.
Times.
I probably haven't heard them all, but I've heard thousands of reasons not to buy, thousands of reasons for people to say no.
Sure.
And I've just tried to come up with thousands of reasons for them to say yes. You know, and that probably is like, it's a good rep. It's lots of reps. It keeps you sharp.
Sure.
I think being a salesman's definitely made me more blunt with people, though. It's definitely given me an odd view of strangers, and it's given me weird judgmental attributes. Like, I'll judge people.
Yeah.
Is that for you as well?
So,
Like, I'll read people real quick.
virtue and vice.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. You must, for survival reasons in sales, triage information in your head fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You've got to make assessments based on available information. There's that old thing, you can tell a lot about a person from their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can look right at somebody, just the way they conduct themselves. If they're, you know, groomed and they're wearing clean, new things that aren't too expensive but nice. And they have a coordinated appearance about them and they speak well. I mean, that's not a direct indicator of their credit score. But if, they're doing that and they drove in a German car and...
You can usually tell that
they've got their shit
buyer.
Together.
Right.
Okay, and then there's other people where they've got their toe sticking out of the hole in their Crocs, and they're wearing a spaghetti-stained wife beater over their, elastic band pants, and they smell funny, and they're, they've got like 5 teeth in their head and shit.
That's either a 490 credit score or a billionaire. It's either a 490 credit score or a billionaire.
As a betting man?
As a betting man, yes, but you always hit on a certain point.
That's why you never judge.
No, you never judge.
That's why you never judge or assume.
But you do kind of have that little conversation with yourself going, fuck, that guy's toe is all the way through that
No,
Croc.
but I'll tell you what you do. What does a good salesman do? Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
You said it yourself a while back, man. When you sell them, you win. You know what I mean? Yeah, that sounds like he 9 times out of 10, that's a stone.
That might sound rough.
That's a stone cold rat. Sorry, that's a stone cold rat. But I'm gonna give that rat the best fucking experience ever because you never know what happens.
If he's gonna do this, why shouldn't I be his guy, man? I mean, I'm not here to judge what you're doing.
I'll tell you what, man. I had a customer when I worked for Chevrolet. Came in, terrible credit. Nice, really nice guy. Worked real hard. He's a truck driver. Drove truck his whole life. Rough credit. He got sent in by his wife to buy an Equinox. I told you the story.
Yeah.
I told you the story.
You don't like it though.
Yeah, the guy's looking at it like
is this the
looking at it like he's picking out his own coffin. You know what I mean? He's looking at this Equinox like he's just like it's covered with shit.
Yeah.
And I go, "Can I help you, sir?" He goes, "Man, wife sent me out to get one of these." And I said, "All right, man, it's not a death sentence. It's an SUV. What can I help?" He's like, "I really like this," and he points to this fancy ass, beautiful leftover Impala. It had black rims. It was so nice. It was cool as shitload.
Yeah, cool package.
And he's like, "My problem is I got terrible credit. I don't have much money down." He says, "But I really like this." And I said, "Well, do me a favor. Say Equinox." He goes, "Equinox." And then I'm like, "All right, now say Impala." He goes, "Impala." I'm like, "Look how much you just smiled saying Impala." I said, "Listen, I could, worst case scenario, I'll sell you the Equinox, but let's see if we can get it done with what you love." And I sold him the car. His credit was trash. We must have maxed out 2 of his credit cards. And I said, "Listen, you make these payments, you do this, that, and the other thing. Actually, listen to my instruction." I said, "Then that under 500 credit score, that's going to go way up." 2 years later, the dude can't buy enough cars off me. He's buying his daughter cars. And, I even have a video of him saying, "I ain't buying shit from y'all no more. Every time I come in here for an oil change, this motherfucker sells me something."
Just to relate, not to make it about me or anything, but
Okay.
Similar clothes. I had this weird mentality in my head when I first started selling clothes where I was judging people with my own wallet, which was a broke-ass wallet. I got into sales out of necessity.
Yeah.
So I was trying to sell people the cheapest damn suit I could.
You were trying to get him the deal. You were trying to find him the bargain.
When and a quick yes.
Listen, it'll work finding them the best financial deal.
Volume, yeah. But so here's what happened. I had a guy where he had a kid come in for his prom, and the kids ended up spending like $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my God. And the family was elated. And you could tell it wasn't a family that had $1,500 to spend like that.
Sure.
So I was like, "Dude, what's going on with that?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "They just spent $1,500." And I wasn't, I just people put together. We have a $300 kit that would get the guy out the door. And he was like, "I'm going to tell you something right now. You're being very, very judgmental, and it's something that I hope you can get past because I think that you're better than that." Really? He said, "Listen, that young man clearly doesn't come from the best situation, okay? From personal experience, I'm going to tell you that not everybody has a lot of big experiences in their life if their life is short. What if that's his last photo? That kid might be living every single minute like it's the last he's got. So what am I going to do? Judge him and put him in some cheap polyester bag on what could be one of the biggest nights he ever gets dressed up in his young life? That's not up for me to judge."
Yeah, people's budget's none of your business.
And then what you find is the people that you really just show them the best you've got, they like what they wear. And it starts becoming a part of how good they feel. And then they like, I want more. I want more. Or like when I sold mattresses, I was really good at selling mattresses because of my chronic pain. I would give people a mattress that changed their life. As corny as that sounds, if you get better sleep, it'll change your life.
That's why you don't show them the nicest thing first. You show them what you can get for the baseline budget.
Everybody's
and then
different.
You work your way up.
Well, no, some people I would deliberately, especially if it looked like it was a possibility, dude, I would just throw them on the nicest thing I had just to put it into their mind. And then, a lot of people wouldn't, but there'd be some people like, dude, I can't get that thing out of my head. It was so comfortable. And I'd be like, interest-free financing is not a thing right now, man. Why don't you take advantage of that? It's not that bad. If you break it down into monthly payments, this is going to change your life. I'm speaking from experience, and you feel that right now, don't you? I'm trying to be sincere with you. I own one of these things. I did not get good sleep, and now I do. And I'm telling you, you'll be happy that you did it. And then the person does it, and then guess what? Dude, I need a living room set, and I'll tell you what, I went out of my budget with the bed, but man, I feel great, and I'm excited to get back into my bed every night. And
now every time he goes out of budget, he feels better.
Now he's more likely to think like, what am I missing out on out here?
There might be a bastard. My back doesn't hurt anymore.
Maybe there's a couch that'll change my life.
Change the way I watch TV.
Yeah. Like, and so that's the thing is, nobody knows what tomorrow has in store for them. Everybody deserves the very best of everything, and you never know the impact you're having on somebody. Putting somebody in the right suit in the right circumstance, they might meet the right lady. That might, being with the right lady will make your whole life come together.
That's a customer for life if you get the guy laid with the suit.
I did that.
She's
multiple
What
times.
is this, satin?
I got one guy in a 3-way, and he came back and gave me a little tip and everything. He was like, dude, I
nutted so much. Here's $100.
Shout out to my buddy if he ever sees this. He was the officiant though, so I don't know if I should shout him out too hard. Once too many people know that. But yeah, so
can't unfuck them.
Yeah, that's fair. It's the difference between a pregnant lady and a light bulb. You've heard that one, right?
Can't unscrew a pregnant lady.
It's an old bad one.
It is an old bad one.
I love old bad things though, like old movies now. I love that's from a movie, My Blue Heaven. You know that one, right?
It's
horrible. It's like Steve Martin pretending to be in witness protection as a mobster, and he doesn't fit into suburban life because he's too
he's too
Italian.
Gangster. He's too gangster. Yeah. I gotcha.
No, dude, it's great though. It's better in a different way now because it's come full circle.
It's like they say, there's no new jokes, only new perspectives of the same humorous things.
There's also that thing that you and I talked about where cool and corny are the yin and yang of each other.
Yeah.
Because something can't be corny without it at some point
being pretty cool.
Yeah, in some kind of basis or form, right?
What's the perfect example of that?
Fashion's easy. There's so many things that seem corny now.
I almost wanted to say the mullet, but the mullet came back hard, dude.
That's a great example.
The mullet used to be corny as shit, and then there was obviously when it started, it was super cool. Then it was corny. Now it's cool again.
So I used to live in fear of that, and then I started realizing after a certain age, I was always one decade ahead, so I always seemed corny. Mm-hmm. But
you think this is the decade where you seem cool as shit?
No, I'm just finally old and I don't give a rat's ass anymore.
You can say fuck.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I'm becoming a father. I'm married.
Yes, congratulations officially. By the way,
we're very excited.
Sophia,
the size of an avocado this morning.
You're gonna fucking love it, dude.
It's
so much of a challenge that your brain is gonna be well occupied.
I love it.
It's going to be so cool.
I've been preparing for so long. It feels like in a video game, just going through the tutorial and collecting way too much shit before the mission started. Now you're just excited to get into battles. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming.
Yeah, they're coming.
They're coming.
And you don't have enough resources.
No, I don't.
You think you mined enough. You think you're good.
But that's the thing is at some point you got to start doing.
And then the best thing is when you realize you stockpiled a bunch of useless shit.
Yeah. That happened with COVID. I told you about that, right?
Yeah, you did.
So, shout out to anybody who does prepping and stuff like that.
You got my little survival stash.
Yeah, you've got some some shit going on. I'm
That's-
giving you credit
that's
for that. No, hey, listen, that's a good start, and that's better than most. So, like, I was a full-blown, like, watching the Nat Geo show Doomsday Prepper. Like, and then when
love that show.
Dude, when I bought my house, I was consciously like, well, where could I grow food, and where would I store my survival
Where can we
shit?
put the bunker?
Yeah, where's the bunker gonna go? So, like, when COVID broke out, it was really weird, because I'm like, I'm a young guy, I have the house, it's got all my survival shit in it, I'm at work one night, they call a meeting, yo, everybody's laid off right now. Sorry, just we're
about to be visited by my children.
That's cool. I'm not mad at
I
that.
can already hear her invading.
That's awesome.
Continue your story.
So, we were just sent home, and I remember, like, the drive home was really spooky because, like, all the businesses were closed, and there was, like, people walking on foot to places, and I was like, this is just, like, something out of a zombie movie. And then I got home before my wife. I don't know if we were married. Were we married in COVID? No, we weren't married during COVID yet. So,
Now you guys just got married a couple years ago.
yeah. So, girlfriend/fiance at the time, but I get home before her. We're living together. I get home, and I'm like, huh. So, we're quarantined. Okay, I'm just gonna go check my bunker. And I, like, walk down, and I, like, check, like, okay, we've got food for a couple months. All right, we've got water filter. Okay, this is an outbreak with an infection, so disinfectants. Okay, I've got disinfectants and antiseptics. All right. The toilet paper. Oh, yeah, toilet paper. They're saying there's, like, shortages of toilet paper. All right, cool, toilet paper. Holy shit, this is really happening. Like, there's this weird, like, those thoughts in that exact order went through my inner monologue. Holy shit, this is actually happening. It was like I prepared for it, and it's, like, strangely didn't make it feel any less, like, jarring.
How disappointing was that apocalypse, man?
Well, no, you know what? It wasn't disappointing. It was more like, you know, as you grow up, there's things you're excited to do as an adult, and then when you do it as an adult, you're like, huh, that wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. It feels more like necessity.
Right.
You know, like, I think the apocalypse was cool because it showed us a bunch of things. Like, anybody who still believes...
apocalypse.
No,
was
anybody
just like
who still believes in universal basic income, come at me, you're an idiot. I think COVID definitively proved that universal income would be, like, the one-way, fast-track, bullet train ticket to corporatocracy as fast as possible because people will give all their shit to Amazon.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Oh, well, if we just, didn't make people work and we gave them enough money to live, everybody would be artists and they'd go out and solve all the world's problems. No, everybody would buy a Twitch camera and would become narcissistic and would expect free shit and ask for more money. So, like, that's what really happened. So, no universal basic income. We're not all going to turn into, like, poets and philosophers and shit. It's more like everybody's going to become a degenerate Dorito eater and make their main form of calories whiskey for a few months. And, everybody got fat and stupid. That's what happened.
I got so fat.
That's what happened.
And I was on top of car sales fat, and then I was COVID fat. Plus, Brittany was pregnant when quarantine happened, so we were eating like a pregnant woman. And all I was doing, I built this computer. This was my stimulus buy. I told you that. And then I bought Elder Scrolls Online, and I just sweated in that chair for fucking 7 weeks. Me and my buddy Alex played ESO for so long, and Tarkov.
No, I started my quarantine in communist utopia. I was waking up every morning and doing yoga and working out and checking my garden, trying to start my home business, cooking all my meals from scratch. Like, I was really... And then after a while, it was just like necessity started settling in and depression settled in and just all the factors of life. And it was just like, I'm a pretty self-disciplined person, and I thought I did pretty good with what from COVID, I walked away net positive. Like, I took some of that stimulus money, made investments, other stuff.
Okay.
I got a lot of stuff accomplished with my home. I did a lot of work on myself. But again, that's a very self-disciplined person. I know a lot, and I still ended up fat. I still ended up with a bunch of, problems that I had to work my way through for years afterwards. So I've seen a bunch of other people that didn't handle it nearly as gracefully. They didn't have the same job opportunities. I was able to up my income because of COVID. Luckily.
Right.
I monkey barred from, this industry got destroyed. I just like Mario. I disappeared down one pipe and I popped out of another one with a bunch of bonus coins.
There you go.
Not everybody does that. Not everybody has the same opportunities or the same moral luck. But I was able to do that. You know, there's a lot of people where COVID just kind of kicked their ass.
Yeah. Most people in food service, mom and pop shops got obliterated. I think COVID was one of the final nails in the coffin for the American dream mom and pop shop, like novelty store, food, pizza chain. I am hopeful too. The problem is everything, like you said, is becoming too automated. Like if right now I decide I want a fucking burrito, I will order a burrito and it will be here in like 20 minutes.
In Dante's Inferno, what's the way out of hell?
Through it.
In the bottom.
Yeah, through it.
Crawling down Satan's leg.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the way that we get through this is we make everything too cheap. And that's going to break everything. If everything is affordable and stuff like that, then authenticity will matter a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Realism.
Yeah.
The generic lifestyle will fall to the wayside, you think, huh?
Well, it's more like this. Let's say it's really hard to like right now, dupes are a big thing with Amazon. Like imagine a really cool item of clothes. China's going to knock it off.
Sure.
A couple months you can get the Temu version.
Right.
So eventually it's how do I look cool? How do I have something different? How do I have something that you don't have? The only really way to have something that can't be made by a machine is to have something that's only authentically made by hand.
Right.
So things that craft. So that's where the UBI thing kind of has an argument is if everything. But again, I told you to watch that Zeitgeist movie.
Yeah.
That's what the whole, I was so hopped up. I drank that whole Kool-Aid when I watched that. I was just like, yeah, that's right. If we just get the robots to do all the work, then I'll get to fuck off and,
No. In
write books and shit.
In actuality, if the robots do all the work, the big business people make all the money.
And then we end up servicing all the robots.
Right. And then the 99% start starving to death.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was supposed to be designed for. The automation was supposed to be all right, so the time is money, right? So if we're saving all this time, then we can be freeing up other people and paying them more because of all this time we're saving. But in all reality, people get paid the same, just less opportunity.
That's too humanistic. That's not how game theory works. We were talking about game theory. Game theory is also probability and what's the most likely outcome.
Okay, what's the most likely outcome?
Profit maximization and competitive advantage.
Right.
There's no such thing as power vacuums. If automation can exist for a nefarious purpose, and then that nefarious purpose allows it to outcompete the people that are doing things for everybody's good, then the things that are doing things for people's good will have to start mimicking the other thing just to stay alive. That's why capitalism beats socialism every single time. There's no way to plan an economy. There's no amount of computational power that can keep up with the needs that it's trying to meet. So it's just competitive-wise, baseline reality is capitalist. That's the only, because you have to have a system which does its own computational things. Yeah.
Another thing is, it's society's turn to, we were talking about, planned obsolescence and stuff.
Yeah.
It used to be you strove to make the best one. Now people strive to make the best for the cheapest. Again, which you will always sacrifice quality if you try and go cheap.
Let's try to go all the way into hell.
Okay.
In a world of super planned obsolescence and a free market, if one person was offering something that actually works, you win. Everybody wants that. That's why, honestly, it's what made Apple so good for a long time. For a long time, it just works. That was their tagline. You know what? It's very true in a lot of ways. They just work together. You pull the AirPods out of the package, you do one little setup instruction, and boom, it's paired to your phone, and
never not works.
And then it seamlessly connects with all your other things. Just because you synced it to your phone, now it's working with your watch, your MacBook, etc. Yeah. So my hope is, damn, if somebody created a car company with modular parts where they almost encouraged you to take it apart and replace things and got rid of the planned obsolescence. Oh, our OEM version keeps breaking. We've made it very easy to replace it with a third market version. Okay, we don't do that well. Some other company does that really well. They make really good windshield wiper blades. We'll let them do that, or maybe we'll absorb them after we make enough money. So that would, it's almost an open source approach. That's one of the benefits of open source. Apple almost does that in a sort of way. They'll create this ecosystem where everybody wants to play with their devices, and they'll kind of allow it. And if one of the features does really well in the App Store, they just include it. They just make their own in-house version of it. Maybe they bought you, maybe they didn't. Like everything that's on an iPhone today was something jailbreakers did a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, most innovations in apps were probably started by hackers.
I mean, even basic features, like the fact that you can turn your phone sideways to make your keyboard wider. Yeah. That was a mod. I remember when that mod came out.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Oh my! You know what I just realized? You are going to be my last show of the year.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to do a show on Wednesday, and then I have the comedy show on the 31st. I don't think I'll be streaming the rest of the month.
This was awesome, man.
We should do at least one a year of you. We should do more, but
I would do even more than that, but yeah.
You totally are. You can literally just show up whenever you want, and we'll just record some shit, dude.
We'll figure it out.
This
was good. I feel like we didn't... I can't believe how much we didn't cover.
Well, what did you want to cover? Is there anything specific? We don't have to stop.
No, it's just
2 hours and 43 minutes. I feel like your wife's going to get pissed at you.
No, well, we're getting close. I think 3 hours is a good time limit for
all right,
for
3 hours is good. So
plus, I think that's the magic number, it seems like, with podcasts. It's like... I don't know, like when you watch Joe Rogan and stuff like that, like 3 hours you get to meet somebody.
It always told me how good the podcast was. Like if it was a 4 hour long podcast, I was like, fuck, dude. It had to have been a good one.
Yeah.
But if it's like an hour and 40 minutes, I was like, oh shit, Joe, like it's all ads.
Interest or
He must have fucking referenced AG1 like 4 times in that podcast.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, you and I could probably sit in a fucking chamber somewhere and talk for 1,000 years.
I think we could, yeah.
Just never run out of things.
You would be such a good cellmate, dude. Holy shit. You would have been such a good cellie.
That's a weird compliment.
My last cellie was an idiot.
Yeah.
He was funny, but he was an idiot.
I can talk about nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And he would talk about nothing, but like nothing I want to talk about. You're fine, Slim. I like you. But all right, we can tone it down there. We can kind of go back into the little beats.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining by. Steve and Leonchuck, everybody. When I get a soundboard, I'm going to put an applause right there. This has been Dust Off the Mic, a little surprise Sunday sit down, the last show of the year potentially. Wow. So what did you think of the studio? What did you think of it all?
This is super dope.
It's come a long way from, hey man, I fucking have an idea.
No, like I was taken aback when I walked in.
Really?
Yeah, I was moved.
That's what I was going for.
Oh,
and it's going to get better. Watch, the next time you come in, it's going to be even better.
I'm so excited to just watch everything happen with Dust Off the Mic. I really am, man. I'm excited to see everything happen with you.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I appreciate you coming by and being such a big part of this.
It's been an honor.
All right, everybody. Peace.
How you try and press the kid and really you was soft. All you know is capping, homie, you don't know the law. Pedal to the metal, you ain't catching me in park. I just hit the start, I don't wanna speak. Talking all that good, so I just hit you with the plays. Running up the score like Tyreek, I'm going deep. Watch me how I'm saucing, I be spreading it with ease. You gon' see the peas. Hey, please be on the notice, these my motives. Bought my chicken and it's rotis. You parsimonious, you take it all cause you a locust. My focus is to grow this mission. A visionary, get a dictionary. We here off the rip and we ain't sharing, we just caring. Let me speak it to the manager. We damage her, no, you ain't messing with an amateur. I'm ramming, the competition, they ain't standing up. They fanning from left to right, cause now they branded us. Now who that is?